This happened to me about 8 months ago, and I still can't look at Facebook Marketplace without feeling sick to my stomach. I'm Sarah. I'm 26, and I work from home as a graphic designer. That last part is important, because it's the whole reason I needed a new desk in the first place. My apartment in suburban Milwaukee is pretty small, just a one-bedroom, and I'd been working off a folding table for almost a year. My back was killing me, and I finally decided I needed to invest in actual furniture. I didn't have much money, so naturally, I turned to Facebook Marketplace. I scrolled through dozens of listings. Cheap IKEA desks that looked half-broken, overpriced vintage pieces that were just old and damaged. The usual stuff. But then I saw it. A gorgeous oak desk with carved details along the edges, multiple drawers, and a hutch with small compartments. The listing said, "Antique secretary desk, $120. The photos were a little dark, but I could see the quality. Real wood. Beautiful craftsmanship. The seller's name was Patricia Holmgren, and her profile looked normal enough, a woman in her early 60s, couple of grandkid photos, nothing that set off any alarm bells. I messaged her that evening. "Hi, is the desk still available?" She responded within minutes. "Yes, it's been in my family for years. I'm downsizing and would love for it to go to someone who'll appreciate it. When would you like to see it?" We arranged for me to come by the next afternoon. She gave me an address in West Allis, a quiet neighborhood about 15 minutes from my place. I remember thinking how friendly she seemed in her messages, lots of exclamation points, really enthusiastic about the desk's history. The next day was a Saturday. Overcast, bit of a chill in the air. I drove to the address, a small brick bungalow with a neat lawn and flower beds. The kind of house that looks like someone's grandmother lives there. I grabbed my phone and wallet, walked up to the door, and knocked. Patricia answered almost immediately. She was exactly like her photos, short gray hair, glasses, cardigan, warm smile. "You must be Sarah. Come in, come in." "The desk is in the study." I stepped inside. The house smelled like vanilla candles and old books. Very grandmotherly. Very normal. She led me through a living room with floral furniture and family photos on every surface, down a short hallway to a small room set up as an office. And there it was. The desk was even more beautiful in person. Dark oak, probably from the 1,920 seconds, or 30 seconds, with intricate carved flowers along the drawer faces. The hutch had 6 small cubbies and 2 larger cabinets with glass doors. "It's stunning," I said, running my hand along the smooth wood. "Are you sure you want to sell it?" Patricia smiled, but something about it seemed off. Just for a second. "Oh, I'm sure. I have too many memories attached to it. Time to let someone else make new ones." The phrase made me uncomfortable, though I couldn't say why. I told myself I was being paranoid. We discussed price. She said she'd take $100 if I could pick it up that day. I agreed immediately. It was an amazing deal. And honestly, I wanted to get it home before she changed her mind. We arranged that I'd come back with my friend Marcus and his truck in 2 hours. When Marcus and I returned, Patricia helped us carefully carry the desk to the truck. She kept touching it as we moved it, almost petting it, which I thought was weird, but chalked up to sentimental attachment. We loaded it up, I handed her 5 $20 bills, and she gave me a strange look as I was leaving. "Take good care of it," she said. "It takes care of those who respect it." Odd phrasing, but whatever. Marcus and I got the desk into my apartment, and he helped me position it against the wall in my bedroom. After he left, I spent the evening cleaning it with wood polish, organizing my art supplies in the drawers, setting up my laptop in the main workspace. It was perfect. I felt productive already. For the next 3 days, everything was great. I loved working at that desk. The drawers were deep and smooth gliding. The little cubbies in the hutch were perfect for organizing. But on the 4th day, I noticed something strange. I was putting a stack of papers in the bottom right drawer when I felt the back panel move slightly. I pushed on it, and it shifted. Weird. I pulled the drawer out completely to look behind it, and that's when I saw there was a false back. A hidden compartment. My heart started beating faster. You always hear about people finding money or old letters in antique furniture, right? I carefully pried the panel away. What I found wasn't money. It was a stack of Polaroid photographs. Maybe 20 of them, held together with a rubber band. The rubber band was newer, not vintage. Someone had put these here recently. My hands were shaking as I slipped the rubber band off. The first photo showed a woman, probably in her 30s, sitting at what looked like the same desk I was sitting at now. She was looking at the camera with an expression I can only describe as terrified. Her eyes were wide, pleading. She wasn't smiling. The second photo showed a different woman, younger, maybe early 20s? Same desk. Same terrified expression. She had marks on her wrists, like she'd been restrained. I went through all of them. 20 different women. Different ages, different ethnicities, but all of them at that desk. All of them looking absolutely petrified. Some had visible injuries. Some were crying. In a few photos, you could see a hand in the corner of the frame, a woman's hand, wrinkled, with age spots. Patricia's hand. I dropped the photos. Literally dropped them on the floor because my hands wouldn't stop shaking. My first instinct was to call the police, but then I realized I didn't actually know anything for certain. These could be staged photos, art project, weird family tradition, something explainable. But I knew they weren't. I picked up the photos with a tissue, trying not to leave more fingerprints, and put them in a Ziploc bag. Then I grabbed my phone and pulled up Patricia's Facebook profile to get her full name and address for the police report I was about to file. The profile was gone. Completely deactivated. Like it had never existed. I checked my Facebook messages. Our entire conversation vanished. I checked my email for any correspondence. Nothing. I had paid her in cash, so there was no electronic record of the transaction. I called the West Allis Police Department and explained the situation as calmly as I could. They sent 2 officers to my apartment within 30 minutes. I showed them the photos. I gave them the address where I'd picked up the desk. They went to check it out while I waited, nearly having a panic attack in my apartment. When they came back 2 hours later, they looked confused. "Ma'am," one of them said, "that address? It's been vacant for 3 months. The property management company has it listed as available. There's no furniture inside. No signs anyone's been living there recently." "That's impossible," I said. "I was inside 4 days ago. There were photos on the walls. Furniture. Candles." They exchanged glances. "We checked with neighbors. No one's seen anyone coming or going from that property in months." The photos I'd found were taken into evidence. The police told me they'd investigate, run the images through missing persons databases, try to identify the women. They asked me to describe Patricia in detail, and I did height, weight, hair color, approximate age, glasses, the cardigan she was wearing. One of the officers wrote everything down, but I could tell they thought I was either lying or had been duped by some kind of elaborate prank. They took the desk too, as potential evidence. I didn't argue. I didn't want it in my apartment anymore. That was 8 months ago. I never heard anything else from the police. I called a few times to follow up, but they said the investigation was ongoing and they couldn't share details. I don't know if they ever identified any of the women in those photos. I don't know if Patricia Holmgren was even her real name. What I do know is this. 2 months after I bought that desk, there was a new listing on Facebook Marketplace. Different account, different seller name, but I recognized the desk immediately. Same carved flowers. Same hutch with 6 small cubbies. The listing said, "Antique secretary desk, $120. Beautiful piece, with lots of history." I reported the listing to Facebook. It was taken down within hours. But I still check Marketplace sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep. I'm always looking for that desk, because somewhere out there, someone else is going to buy it. Someone else is going to find that hidden compartment. And I hope, God, I really hope they find it empty, but I don't think they will. My name is Marcus. I'm 22, and I'm a junior at the University of Minnesota. I've been building gaming PCs since high school, so I know hardware, I know prices, and I know when something sounds too good to be true. But last semester, I ignored every red flag because I wanted to believe I'd found an incredible deal. It started in late September. I was on Craigslist looking for GPU upgrades when I saw a listing that made my jaw drop. Complete gaming PC, RTX 4080, i9 processor, 32 gigabytes RAM, 2 terabytes SSD, $800. $800. For parts that would cost at least $2,500 if you bought them new. I knew it was suspicious, but I told myself maybe someone was moving, needed cash fast. Didn't know what they had. I'd heard of deals like that happening. Rare, but possible. The listing had been posted just 40 minutes earlier. I was probably one of the first people to see it. I sent a message immediately. Is this still available? Can I see it today? The response came back in under a minute. Just a phone number. No name, no pleasantries. I should have been more cautious, but I was too excited. I texted the number. Yeah, it's available. Can you come look at it tonight? I'm only free after 8. 8 p.m. on a Thursday. Not ideal, but I really wanted that PC. I asked for the address. He sent me a location pin. When I clicked on it, my stomach dropped a little. It wasn't in a residential area. The pin dropped on what Google Maps labeled as Riverside Industrial Complex in northeast Minneapolis, near the river. The street view showed a sprawling complex of old brick buildings, former warehouses that had probably been abandoned for years. I texted back. That's an industrial area. You live there? Temporary studio space. I'm an artist. Lots of us rent spaces in the building. That made some sense. Minneapolis has a lot of converted warehouse artist studios. It wasn't completely crazy, but something felt off about the whole interaction. The messages were short, almost curt. No attempt to build trust or rapport. I did what any reasonable person would do. I told my roommate Jake exactly where I was going and when. I shared my location with him on my phone. I told him if he didn't hear from me by 9:30, call the police. Dude, that's sketchy as hell, Jake said. Want me to come with you? I should have said yes. I really should have said yes. But I was embarrassed to admit I was nervous. And I didn't want to split the PC if Jake ended up wanting to buy it together. Stupid reasoning. I know that now. Nah, I'll be fine, I said. It's probably just some awkward tech guy who doesn't know how to write friendly messages. I left campus around 7:45. The drive took about 20 minutes. As I got closer to the address, the neighborhood deteriorated. Fewer streetlights, more boarded-up buildings. The kind of area where you don't stop at red lights after dark if you can avoid it. The industrial complex was enormous, at least 6 separate buildings connected by crumbling parking lots and overgrown grass. Most of the windows were broken or covered with plywood. There were a few cars scattered around, which gave me some relief. If artists really did rent studio space here, at least I wouldn't be completely alone. I parked under one of the few working streetlights and checked my phone. The seller had texted me. Building 3, 2nd floor, Unit 2. See doors open. Just come up. The doors open, just come up. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to leave. But I'd driven all this way, and I could see light coming from some of the 2nd floor windows. People were there. It was fine. I got out of my car and approached Building 3. The main entrance was a heavy metal door with a broken lock. I pulled it open, and the smell hit me immediately. Mold, rust, something chemical I couldn't identify. The interior was worse than the exterior. Graffiti covered every wall. The floor was littered with trash, broken glass, old furniture. There was a stairwell to my right. I climbed the concrete steps, my footsteps echoing in the empty space. At the top, a long hallway stretched out in both directions, lit by a few bare bulbs hanging from the ceiling. Some of the units had numbers spray-painted on the doors. Others were just dark openings with no doors at all. I found 2C halfway down the hall. The door was slightly ajar. light spilling out into the hallway. I could hear music playing inside something electronic. Repetitive. I knocked. "Hello? I'm here about the PC." "Come in," a male voice called. I pushed the door open. The studio was exactly what you'd expect from an abandoned warehouse: exposed brick walls, high ceilings with exposed pipes, concrete floor. But it didn't look like an artist worked there. There was no art, no supplies. Just a table against the far wall with a computer on it, an old couch, some folding chairs, and a space heater. A guy in his 30s stood next to the computer. Shaved head, medium build, wearing cargo pants and a hoodie. He smiled when he saw me, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Marcus?" he asked. "Yeah, you're..." I realized I didn't actually know his name. "Tony," he said. "Thanks for coming all the way out here. I know the location's not great." "It's fine," I lied. "Can I see the PC?" He gestured to the table. I walked over, keeping my distance from him, and examined the computer. It was a beautiful build custom case with RGB lighting, clean cable management, high-end components. I could see the RTX 4080 through the side panel. This was the real deal. "Can I power it on?" I asked. "Sure, go ahead." I pressed the power button. The system booted up perfectly. I checked the specs. Everything matched the listing. This was legitimately an $800 gaming PC that should have cost 3 times that much. "Why are you selling it so cheap?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. Tony shrugged. "Moving to California next week. Can't take it with me. Just need it gone." It was a believable answer. But something about his body language was off. He kept glancing toward the door behind me. And now that I was paying attention, I realized the music had stopped. The building was completely silent except for the sound of rain starting to pound on the roof. "I'll take it," I said, making a split-second decision. "I've got cash." "Great. 800, right?" I pulled out the money, 4 $200 bills. I'd stopped at an ATM on the way. As I counted them out on the table, I heard something that made my blood run cold. Footsteps in the hallway. Multiple people. Coming closer. Tony's demeanor changed instantly. The friendly pretense dropped. "You alone?" he asked quietly. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. "No," I lied. "My friend's waiting in the car." The footsteps stopped right outside the door. I turned and saw 3 men standing in the hallway, silhouetted against the dim light. They were just standing there, waiting. "Here's the thing, Marcus," Tony said behind me, and his voice had gone flat, emotionless. "That computer's worth about 3 grand. You brought 800, but I bet you've got more. College kid, decent car, iPhone. You've got a wallet full of cards." I didn't turn around. I was frozen, calculating distances. The door was maybe 12 feet away. The men were blocking it, but not completely. If I ran, could I get past them? 3 against 1, in an abandoned building, and Tony was behind me. "I'm going to leave now," I said, surprised at how steady my voice sounded. "My friend knows exactly where I am. He's calling the police if I don't text him in the next 5 minutes." "He's lying," one of the men in the doorway said. "Nobody's that stupid to bring backup and still come up here alone." He was right, but I kept my poker face. Try me. For a long moment, nobody moved. The only sound was the rain hammering the building, and my own heartbeat roaring in my ears. I watched Tony's reflection in the black screen of the computer monitor. He was holding something, I couldn't tell what. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Jake, visible on my watch. "You good?" Getting worried, I held up my wrist so they could all see it. "That's him, and he'll call 911 if I don't respond in 30 seconds. "Shit," Tony muttered. One of the men in the doorway stepped aside. Just barely. "Get out." I didn't need to be told twice. I walked toward the door, every muscle in my body tensed, expecting someone to grab me. But they let me pass. I stepped into the hallway, and someone behind me laughed low, mocking. "Next time, kid, don't be so greedy." I walked. I didn't run. I knew that if I ran, they'd chase me. I walked to the stairwell with my phone in my hand, texting Jake. "Coming out now. Get ready to call 911. I descended the stairs as fast as I could without it looking like a panic, burst through the main door, and sprinted to my car. I locked the doors immediately, started the engine with shaking hands, and peeled out of that parking lot. I didn't stop shaking until I was back on the highway, surrounded by other cars and streetlights. I called Jake and told him everything. He convinced me to file a police report, which I did that night. The cops told me what I'd already figured out. It was a robbery setup. The expensive gaming PC was real, meant to lure people with money to an isolated location. They'd rob you, take everything: phone, wallet, car keys. Maybe worse. The officer said they'd been getting reports of similar schemes in that area for months. "You're lucky you mentioned your friend and got that text when you did," the cop told me. "These guys usually work in groups of 4 or 5. They would have cleaned you out. They never caught Tony or the others." The building was abandoned when police checked it the next day. The PC was gone. The Craigslist posting had been deleted. I still look at PC deals online sometimes, but now, if the price is too good to be true, I don't even respond to the listing. I don't care if it's legitimate. I don't care if I'm missing out on the deal of a lifetime, because the best deal in the world isn't worth walking into a building where 3 men are waiting to decide if you're worth robbing or something worse. And sometimes late at night, I wonder, what would have happened if Jake hadn't texted me right at that moment? What if I'd actually been stupid enough to go there without telling anyone where I was going? I don't like thinking about the answer. My name is Emma, and I'm a 31-year-old mother of 1. This happened about 6 months ago, and it's the reason I don't sell anything online anymore. Actually, it's the reason I barely post on social media at all now. My son Oliver had just turned 2, which meant he'd outgrown basically his entire wardrobe. I'm talking bags and bags of barely worn baby clothes, onesies, sleepers, little jackets, all of it in perfect condition. Some pieces still had tags on them. It felt wasteful to just donate everything, so I decided to sell bundles on Facebook Marketplace. I took photos of the clothes organized by size, wrote up detailed descriptions, priced everything reasonably. Within an hour of posting, I had about a dozen messages. Most were normal. "Is this still available?" Or, "Would you take $30 for the 18-month bundle?" But one message stood out. "Hi, these are perfect. I'm having a baby boy in December. I live close by. When can I come see them?" The profile name was Jennifer Walsh. Her profile picture showed a woman in her late 20s. Blonde hair. Friendly smile. Nothing unusual. I responded that she could come by Saturday afternoon, gave her my address, and that was that. Saturday came. Jennifer showed up right on time, driving a silver Honda. She looked exactly like her profile photo, dressed casually in jeans and a maternity shirt. She seemed about 6 months pregnant. "Your home is beautiful," she said as I led her inside. "How old is your son?" "Just turned 2, I said, leading her to the living room where I'd laid out all the clothes. She knelt down and started going through everything, asking normal questions. What brands held up best? Did the sizes run true? Were any of the clothes too warm for summer babies? She seemed genuinely interested, not just making small talk. "I'll take everything," she said after about 10 minutes. "How much for all of it?" I'd been asking $150 for the entire lot. She didn't even try to negotiate. She pulled out her wallet, counted out the cash, and handed it to me. Easy transaction. I helped her carry everything to her car. As she was loading the last bag into her trunk, she turned to me with this warm smile. "Thank you so much. You have no idea how much this helps. Being a first-time mom is overwhelming." "I remember," I said. "It gets easier." She drove away, and I went back inside feeling good about the whole interaction. Nice person, fair price, everything gone. Perfect. That night, around 11 p.m., I got a Facebook message from Jennifer Walsh. "Hey, just wanted to say thanks again. The clothes are perfect." Oliver is so lucky to have a mom like you. It was a nice message. Maybe a little odd to send so late, but whatever. I sent back a quick, "You're welcome," and went to bed. The next morning, there was another message. Sent at 2:30 a.m. I was looking through the clothes again and noticed some of them smell like your detergent. What brand do you use? I want Oliver's new clothes to smell familiar, you know? Babies respond to scent. I stared at that message for a long time. Something about it felt wrong. Why would she want the clothes to smell like my detergent? And why was she up at 2:30 in the morning thinking about this? I didn't respond. 2 days later, another message. 9 p.m. this time. I drove past your house today. Your neighborhood is so quiet. Do you usually keep Oliver's window open? I noticed the curtains were pulled back. My blood went cold. Oliver's room faced the street. The curtains had been open that morning when I was getting him dressed. But how did she know which window was his? How did she know I'd had them open? I immediately checked Jennifer Walsh's Facebook profile. It was gone. Not deactivated, completely gone. Like it had never existed. I searched for her name with different spellings. Nothing. I checked my message history. And our entire conversation was still there. But her profile picture had been replaced with the generic gray silhouette. I called my husband at work. That woman who bought Oliver's clothes? She's been sending weird messages. And now her profile is deleted. What kind of messages? He asked. I read them to him. There was a long silence. Emma, she knows which room is Oliver's. She's been watching the house. We called the police that afternoon. An officer came and took a report. But he was honest with us about the limitations. She hasn't made any direct threats. She bought items from you legally. The messages are strange, but not criminal. We can't do much unless she escalates. What does escalation look like? I asked. Showing up at the property. Attempting contact after you've told her to stop. Following you. So we just wait for it to get worse? He looked uncomfortable. Keep your doors locked. Install security cameras if you don't have them. Document everything. If she messages you again, don't respond, but save it. That night I got another message. 1 a.m. I saw Oliver at the park today. He's so much bigger than I expected from his clothes. He was wearing that blue shirt with the dinosaur. He's beautiful, Emma. I hadn't taken Oliver to the park. My husband had after work while I was making dinner, which meant she'd followed them. Or she was watching the house and saw them leave. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in Oliver's room with the door locked, curtains drawn, listening to every sound in the house, every creak of the settling foundation, every rustle of wind against the windows, every distant car on the street. All of it sounded like someone trying to get inside. The messages continued for 3 more days. Always late at night. Always with specific details about our lives. Oliver dropped his pacifier at the grocery store today. The blue one. Did you find it? Your husband drives a black Subaru, right? He needs to check his rear driver's side tire. Looks low. Oliver sleeps with a brown teddy bear. Does he take it everywhere? Each message proved she was watching us. Following us. Learning our routines. Our habits. Which car we drove. Where we shopped. What time we left the house. On the 4th day, I posted a message in the conversation, even though I knew she'd see it. Stop contacting me. Stop watching my family. I have reported you to the police. Any further contact will be considered harassment and stalking. She responded immediately. 3 words. I'm not Jennifer. That's when I realized Jennifer Walsh had never existed. The profile picture, the friendly demeanor, the pregnancy story, all of it had been fake. Someone had created that entire persona just to get my address, just to get into my house, just to see where Oliver's room was. But who and why? We installed cameras that day. Front door, back door, driveway, Oliver's window. We changed our routines, different grocery store, different park, different times for everything. My husband started working from home 2 days a week. We never posted on social media anymore. No photos of Oliver, no check-ins, no location tags. The messages stopped after my warning. It's been 6 months, and we haven't heard anything since. The police never found out who was behind the profile. Facebook told us the account had been created with a fake email and deleted the same day I blocked it. Sometimes I look at Oliver sleeping in his crib, holding that brown teddy bear she somehow knew about, and I think about how close we came to something terrible. I don't know what her plan was. I don't know if she wanted to take him, hurt him, or just terrify us. But I know this. She has our address. She knows what our family looks like. She knows our vehicles, our shopping habits, our son's favorite toy, and somewhere out there, she's probably scrolling through Facebook Marketplace right now, looking for the next family selling baby clothes. Creating a new profile with a new name and a new smiling face, asking when she can come by to see them. We got the cameras installed just in time, I think. Because 2 weeks after the messages stopped, at 3:17 in the morning, the camera on Oliver's window recorded someone standing in our yard, just standing there in the dark, looking up at his room. The motion sensor light came on, and whoever it was ran. The footage is too grainy to see details, just a figure in dark clothing, moving fast. The police reviewed it, added it to the report. But without a clear image or license plate, there was nothing they could do. We still have that footage saved. We watch it sometimes, trying to convince ourselves it could have been anyone. A random person, wrong house, mistaken address, but we know it wasn't. It was her, whoever she really is, coming back to finish whatever she started. And some nights, when Oliver wakes up crying from a nightmare, I stand at his window and look out at the dark street, wondering if she's out there right now, watching, waiting, planning her next message. My name is David Chen. I'm 34 years old, and I flip items for a living estate sales, storage auctions, thrift stores, anything I can buy low and sell high. It's not glamorous, but I make decent money. At least, I did until last March, when I bought a storage unit that changed everything. I'd been watching storage auction listings on Craigslist for weeks. Most of them were garbage people's junk. They couldn't be bothered to move. But every now and then, you'd find a unit full of furniture, electronics, collectibles. That's where the money was. The listing appeared on a Tuesday afternoon. Storage unit contents must go. $500. Oboe. Cash only. The ad included maybe 6 photos, all taken from the doorway of the unit. I could see stacked boxes, what looked like furniture under tarps, some filing cabinets. The lighting was bad, but there was clearly a lot of stuff. The description said, "Previous tenant abandoned unit. Contents sold as is. Located at Stowaway Storage, Unit 247. Serious inquiries only. $500 was reasonable for a gamble. If even half the stuff was sellable, I'd make my money back." I called the number in the listing. A man answered. Older voice. Rough. "Yeah? Hi. I'm calling about the storage unit for sale. Is it still available?" "Yeah." "You got cash?" "I do. Can I see it before I buy?" "That's fine. Meet me there at 7 tonight. Stowaway Storage on Highway 61. Just past the mobile station. Unit 247. Bring cash." He hung up before I could ask anything else. Something about the conversation bothered me, but I couldn't pinpoint what. The abruptness, maybe. Or the fact that he hadn't asked my name. But storage unit sellers were often weird dealing with abandoned property, frustrated about not getting paid rent, eager to clear out the space. I'd met plenty of antisocial landlords before. I drove out to Stowaway Storage around 6:45. It was one of those massive facilities, hundreds of units in long rows, orange doors, motion sensor lights. The kind of place that feels desolate even during the day. The office was closed, but the gate was open. I drove through, following the unit numbers, until I found row 200. Unit 247 was near the end, and there was already a pickup truck parked in front of it. Older model Ford, rust on the wheel wells, truck bed empty. A man was standing by the unit door, 60s, maybe early 70s, wearing work pants and a flannel jacket, gray beard, weathered face. He watched me park without any expression. "You, David?" he called out as I approached. "Yeah, you're the seller?" "Property manager. Name's Bill." He didn't offer a handshake. "You got the cash? Can I look inside first?" He pulled out a key ring, unlocked the padlock on the orange door, and rolled it up with a screech of metal on metal. The unit was 10 by 20, packed floor to ceiling. Boxes, furniture, filing cabinets, plastic storage bins, exactly what the photos showed. I stepped inside with my phone flashlight, looking for anything valuable. A leather couch under a tarp, probably worth a couple hundred if it wasn't damaged. Boxes labeled books, and kitchen, and office. "Who's the previous tenant?" I asked. "Don't know, don't care. He stopped paying rent 14 months ago. Tried to contact him for 6 months, couldn't reach him. State law says after that, contents become property of the facility. I can sell them. It was a standard story, happened all the time. Any idea what's in all the boxes? Personal effects. Household stuff. Look, you want it or not? I got other people interested. That was almost certainly a lie. If other people were interested, he wouldn't be meeting me at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. But I'd seen enough. 500 for all this was a good deal. "I'll take it," I said. He held out his hand. I counted out 5 $100 bills. He pocketed them without counting, handed me the key, and said, "It's yours. Clean it out within 30 days, or the facility starts charging you rent." "Wait, I need a receipt." "Cash sale. No receipt. I need something in writing that proves I own the contents." He sighed, pulled out a small notepad from his pocket, scribbled, "Sold contents of Unit 247 to David Chen for $500. Bill Morrison. The 17th of March 2025. Tore off the page and handed it to me. "That's it?" I asked. "That's it. Good luck." He walked to his truck, got in, and drove off without another word. I stood there in the empty row, looking at this storage unit I now owned, and felt the first real prickle of unease. Something was off. Bill had been too eager to leave, too eager to take cash, and not provide proper documentation, too eager to get rid of this unit, but I'd already paid. The unit was mine. I'd come back tomorrow with my truck and start going through everything. I pulled the door down, locked it with the key Bill had given me, and drove home. The next morning, I returned with my pickup, dolly, and moving blankets. It was a Wednesday, mid-morning, and the storage facility was mostly empty. I unlocked Unit 247 and started pulling boxes out into the daylight to see what I'd bought. The first few boxes were normal. Kitchen supplies, plates, glasses, utensils. Books, mostly paperbacks, true crime and mystery novels. Office supplies, nothing valuable, but sellable at a yard sale. Then I opened a plastic bin labeled personal. Inside were photo albums. I flipped through one family photos from the 1992 and early 2000s. A man in his 40s, balding, glasses, with a woman and 2 kids. Birthday parties. Vacations. Normal family stuff. But something about the photos felt wrong. In the later pictures, the woman and kids weren't smiling anymore. They looked tense, uncomfortable, and the man, the father, was always positioned between them and the camera, like he was blocking them from leaving the frame. The last photo in the album showed just the man, alone, holding a glass of wine, sitting in what looked like a basement. The photo was dark, blurry, but behind him on the wall I could see something that made my stomach turn. Chains, mounted to the concrete wall. I dropped the album. My hands were shaking. I told myself it could be anything. Maybe he was into weird art, or it was a Halloween decoration, or I was seeing things that weren't there, but I knew I wasn't. I opened more boxes, found files, bank statements, bills, legal documents, all addressed to Robert M. Hartwell at an address in rural Minnesota, about an hour north of where I was. I found more photos. Not in albums this time. Loose Polaroids in a manila envelope. Women I didn't recognize. They weren't family photos. They were surveillance photos, women at grocery stores, gas stations, walking to their cars, and written on the back of each photo in neat handwriting, dates and locations. I sat down on the concrete, surrounded by boxes, trying to process what I was looking at. This wasn't just an abandoned storage unit. This was evidence. Evidence of something bad. I called the police non-emergency line, explained the situation. I'd bought a storage unit, found disturbing photos, wanted to report it. They said they'd send an officer. While I waited, I kept going through boxes, found more files, newspaper clippings about missing women from the early 2000s. 3 different women, all from rural Minnesota communities. All disappeared without a trace between 2001 and 2004. And in a file labeled Important, I found a journal. Handwritten entries. Dozens of pages. I only read the first few entries before I had to stop. The man who owned this unit, Robert Hartwell, was confessing to things I can't even repeat. Detailed descriptions of what he'd done to those missing women, where he'd taken them, what he'd kept as souvenirs. I put the journal down and walked outside the unit. I needed air. I needed to not be surrounded by this evidence of horror. That's when I noticed the car. A dark blue sedan, parked 3 rows over. It hadn't been there when I arrived. And there was someone sitting in the driver's seat. Just sitting there, watching me. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. David? A man's voice. Not Bill. Someone younger. Who is this? You bought my father's storage unit. My blood went cold. Robert Hartwell is your father? Was. He died 6 months ago. Heart attack. Then you know what's in this unit. You know what he did. There was a long silence. My father was a sick man. Nobody knows what he did. The police never found anything. Those cases went cold decades ago. I'm looking at evidence right now. Photos. A journal. I've already called the police. Another silence. Then, that would be a mistake. Are you threatening me? I'm telling you the truth. If you bring the police into this, if you make my father's crimes public, you'll destroy what's left of my family. My mother doesn't know. My sister doesn't know. It would kill them. That's not my problem. He murdered people. He's dead. He can't hurt anyone else. But you can. You can hurt innocent people by dragging this into the light. I looked at the blue sedan. The person inside was still watching. Are you here right now? At the storage facility? I need those boxes, David. I need my father's things. I'll pay you. $5,000. Cash. Right now. So you can destroy evidence? So I can protect my family. Think about it. The women he hurt, they're gone. Nothing will bring them back. But my mother, my sister, they're still here. They don't deserve to live with this. I wanted to hang up. I wanted to tell him to go to hell. But something in his voice made me pause. He sounded desperate, yes, but also sincere. Like he really was trying to protect people. The police are already on their way, I said. Then we don't have much time. I'm in the blue car, 3 rows over. I can see you right now. I have the cash in the car. Take it. Walk away. Let me handle this. Handle it how? I'll take everything to the police myself. I'll turn in the evidence. But I'll do it in a way that protects my family's privacy. Work with the detectives quietly. Give those women's families closure without turning my father into a public monster. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to wait for the police, hand everything over, let them handle it. But another part of me understood his point. Robert Hartwell was dead. His son wasn't responsible for his father's crimes, and $5,000 was a lot of money. Show me the cash, I said. He got out of the car. Tall, mid-30s, wearing a suit like he'd come from an office. He walked over carrying a briefcase. Opened it. Stacks of $100 bills. It's all here, he said. 50 $100 bills. Take it. Walk away. I looked at the money. Then at the storage unit full of evidence. Then at this man who was either trying to cover up his father's crimes or genuinely trying to protect his family. "If I give you this stuff," I said slowly, "how do I know you'll actually turn it in to police?" "You don't. You have to trust me." "I don't even know your name." "Michael. Michael Hartwell. And yes, I know that name will be tied to a serial killer if this goes public. That's exactly what I'm trying to avoid." A police siren wailed in the distance, getting closer. "They're almost here," Michael said. "Decide now." I made a choice I still don't know was right. I took the briefcase. "It's yours. Take everything." He moved fast, backed his car up to the unit, started loading boxes. He worked like someone who'd been military trained, efficient and silent. Within 5 minutes, the entire unit was empty, except for the worthless furniture. The police car pulled into the facility just as Michael was closing his trunk. The officer walked over. "You called about a storage unit?" "Yeah," I said. "False alarm, actually. I thought I found something concerning, but it turned out to be nothing. Just old family photos and papers. Sorry to waste your time." The officer looked at me skeptically, looked at Michael, looked at the empty unit. "This, your unit?" "Just bought it yesterday," I said. "Already cleared out the good stuff. Nothing valuable, turns out." The officer looked like he wanted to press further, but without any evidence of a crime, there was nothing he could do. "All right. You sure everything's okay?" "Positive." Again, sorry for the confusion. He left. Michael closed his trunk, looked at me for a long moment. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Just do what you said you'd do." "I will." He got in his car and drove away. I never heard from Michael Hartwell again. I checked news reports obsessively for months, looking for stories about cold cases being solved, remains being found, families getting closure. Nothing. I still have the $5,000. Haven't spent a cent of it. It sits in my closet in that briefcase. And every time I look at it, I wonder if I made a terrible mistake. Did Michael turn in the evidence like he promised? Or did he destroy it? Did he protect his family by burying his father's crimes forever? And if he did, does that make me complicit in covering up multiple murders? I don't flip storage units anymore. I can't. Every time I see a listing, I think about what might be inside. What secrets people hide in those 10 by 20 spaces? What evidence might be sitting there, waiting for someone like me to stumble across it? And late at night, I think about those women Robert Hartwell killed. Their families, still waiting for answers. Still wondering what happened to their daughters, their sisters, their mothers. I could have given them closure. I could have been the person who finally brought their killer to justice, even if he was already dead. Instead, I took $5,000 and walked away. 3 months ago, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a newspaper, clipping from a small Minnesota paper. The headline read, "Anonymous tip leads to discovery of remains. 3 cold cases potentially solved." The article said an anonymous source had provided police with locations where bodies might be found. Investigators had recovered remains of 3 women who'd been missing since the early 2000s. Families were finally getting closure. The investigation was ongoing, but police believed the cases were connected to a deceased suspect they weren't naming publicly. There was a handwritten note with the clipping. Just 3 words. "I kept my promise." I don't know if I did the right thing. I don't know if taking that money makes me a monster or just a pragmatist. I don't know if Michael really did turn in all the evidence, or if he only gave police enough to provide closure while protecting his family's name. What I do know is this. Those 3 women's families can bury their daughters now. They can have funerals, they can grieve properly, they can have answers. Would they have gotten that if I'd handed everything over to the police that day? Maybe, maybe not. Police investigations move slowly. Evidence gets lost. Things fall through cracks. But sometimes, late at night, I wonder about the other boxes I didn't look through. The ones Michael loaded into his car. What else was in there? What other secrets Did Robert Hartwell hide? And I wonder if Michael destroyed that evidence or if somewhere, in another storage unit under another name, those boxes are waiting. Waiting for someone else to buy them. Waiting for someone else to decide what justice really means. I still have that briefcase with $5,000 in my closet. Blood money, maybe. Or maybe the cost of doing something messy and complicated that still somehow led to the right outcome. I'll never know for sure, and that's something I'll have to live with for the rest of my life. My name is Jessica Torres, and I'm 28 years old. 6 months ago, I got engaged to the love of my life, a man named Adam. We set the wedding date for October, and I started planning immediately. I've dreamed about my wedding since I was a little girl. Every detail had to be perfect. But wedding dresses are expensive, insanely expensive. I found my dream dress at a bridal boutique in downtown Portland, off-white lace, vintage inspired, with delicate beading on the bodice. It was exactly what I'd always imagined. The price tag was $4,200. I couldn't justify spending that much. Adam and I were saving for a house, and a dress I'd wear once seemed like a waste. So I turned to secondhand options, bridal consignment shops, online resale groups, Facebook Marketplace. That's where I found it. A listing posted by someone named Catherine Mills. Vintage wedding dress, never worn, size $600 to $400. The photos showed a dress almost identical to the one I'd tried on at the boutique. Same lace detailing, same vintage cut, same delicate beading. The listing description said, "Bought for my wedding but called it off. Never worn, still in original garment bag. Just want it gone. Too many memories." $400 for a dress worth thousands. I messaged her immediately. She responded within the hour. "Hi, yes, it's still available. I'd love for it to go to someone who'll actually wear it. When can you come see it?" We arranged to meet that Saturday at her apartment in Northeast Portland. She gave me an address in a nice neighborhood, older building, tree-lined street, nothing alarming. Catherine answered the door, looking exactly like her profile picture, early 30s, dark hair pulled back, tired eyes. She smiled when she saw me, but it didn't quite reach those eyes. "You must be Jessica, come in." Her apartment was small but tastefully decorated. Lots of plants, vintage furniture, framed artwork. Everything looked normal except for one thing. There were no photos anywhere. Most people have at least a few family photos, pictures with friends, something personal. Catherine's walls were covered in generic art prints. "The dress is in my bedroom," she said. "I'll go get it." She disappeared down a short hallway. I stood in the living room, feeling oddly uncomfortable. The apartment was too quiet. No music, no TV background noise, just the sound of rain against the windows. Catherine returned carrying a white garment bag. She laid it across the couch and unzipped it carefully, almost reverently. The dress was breathtaking, even more beautiful than the photos. The lace was delicate and intricate. The beading caught the light perfectly, and the fabric looked expensive. Real silk, not polyester. "It's stunning," I breathed. "Try it on," Catherine said. "The bathroom's down the hall. Take your time." I carried the dress to the bathroom and changed carefully. It fit perfectly, like it had been made for me. I looked at myself in the mirror and felt tears prick my eyes. This was my wedding dress. I knew it with absolute certainty. When I came out, Catherine was sitting on the couch, staring at the empty garment bag. She looked up when she heard me, and something flickered across her face. Not quite sadness, something darker. "It's perfect," I said, turning so she could see. "I'll take it." She stood up slowly. "You look beautiful." "He's a lucky man." "Thank you." "I'm sorry it didn't work out for you." Her expression changed. "What didn't work out?" "Your wedding. You said you called it off." She stared at me for a long moment. "Right. Yes. I called it off." Something about the way she said it made my skin crawl. Like she was reading from a script she'd forgotten. I changed back into my clothes quickly, paid her the $400 in cash, and left with the dress. As I was loading it into my car, I glanced back at her apartment window. Catherine was standing there, watching me. When our eyes met, she didn't wave or smile. She just stared. That night, I hung the dress in my closet and went to bed feeling happy. I'd found my perfect dress at a fraction of the cost. Everything was falling into place. I had the first nightmare around 2 a.m. I was standing in a church, wearing the dress. But something was wrong. The church was empty. No guests, no music, no Adam. Just me and the echo of my footsteps on the stone floor. I walked down the aisle toward the altar, and that's when I saw him. A man in a tuxedo, standing with his back to me. I couldn't see his face. As I got closer, he turned around. It wasn't Adam. It was someone else. Someone with eyes that were completely black, like voids. And he smiled at me with too many teeth. "You wore my dress," he said. I woke up gasping, my heart racing. Adam stirred next to me. "You okay?" "Just a bad dream," I said. But it didn't feel like just a dream. It felt like a memory. Like I'd actually been in that church. The nightmares continued every night. Always the same church. Always the same man with black eyes. But each night, the dream went a little further. He would reach for my hand. We would stand at the altar together. A faceless priest would begin the ceremony. And every time, right before he said "I do," I would wake up. I started sleeping less. The exhaustion was affecting my work, my relationship with Adam, everything. I told him about the nightmares, and he suggested maybe I was just stressed about wedding planning. "Totally normal," he said. But I knew it wasn't normal, because the nightmares were getting more vivid, more detailed, more real. 2 weeks after I bought the dress, I decided to do some research. I Googled Catherine Mills's name, along with Portland, Oregon. I found her Facebook profile, the same one I'd messaged through. But when I clicked on it, something strange happened. Her profile picture was different. In the original picture, she'd been smiling, looking at the camera. But now, the photo showed her in a wedding dress. The same dress I'd bought from her. And she wasn't smiling. She looked terrified. I refreshed the page. The photo changed back to the original. I must have been seeing things, I thought. Sleep deprivation playing tricks on me. But then I noticed something in her profile information. Her listed hometown was Astoria, Oregon, a small coastal town about 2 hours from Portland. I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I started searching for news articles from Astoria. Wedding announcements, obituaries, anything involving Catherine Mills. I found it on the 3rd page of search results. A newspaper article from 5 years ago. Local woman dies on wedding day. Tragic accident mars ceremony. The article was brief. Catherine Mills, 27, of Astoria, died Saturday afternoon in what authorities are calling a tragic accident. Mills was preparing for her wedding ceremony at St. Mary's Church when she fell down a flight of stairs leading from the bridal preparation room. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Her fiancé, Thomas Reinhardt, and approximately 50 wedding guests witnessed the aftermath. The ceremony was immediately canceled. Authorities say Mills' death appears accidental, though an investigation is ongoing. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. Catherine Mills was dead. She died 5 years ago on her wedding day. So who the hell had I bought the dress from? I immediately pulled up Facebook Messenger and looked at my conversation with Catherine Mills. The profile was gone, completely vanished. Our entire message thread had disappeared. I grabbed my phone and called the number I'd used to arrange the meeting. Disconnected. No longer in service. I ran to my closet and pulled out the dress. It was exactly as I remembered. Beautiful, delicate, expensive. But now, looking at it in the lamplight, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. There was a small brownish stain on the hem, hidden in the folds of fabric. It looked like dried blood. I dropped the dress, backed away from it, like it was alive. My rational mind was trying to make sense of what was happening. Maybe there were two Catherine Mills. Maybe the dead woman's family had sold her dress. Maybe this was all a bizarre coincidence. But I knew the truth. I'd met a dead woman. I'd been inside her apartment. I'd given her cash that had now vanished from my wallet when I checked. There were $400 missing. Exactly what I'd paid her. The dress was cursed or haunted, or whatever you want to call clothing that carries the spirit of someone who died wearing it. I wanted to burn it, throw it away, get it out of my house. But something stopped me. A voice in my head that wasn't quite my own. You can't get rid of me. You bought me. You chose me. I'm yours now. That night, the nightmare was different. I was in the church again, wearing the dress. But this time, I couldn't move. My feet were rooted to the floor. The man with black eyes was walking toward me. And behind him, I could see Catherine, the real Catherine. She was wearing a torn, bloodied version of the dress I was wearing. He killed me, she said. Thomas pushed me down those stairs. It wasn't an accident. And now he wants you. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Thomas, the man with black eyes, reached for my hand. You look beautiful, he whispered, just like she did. I woke up screaming, actually screaming. Adam shook me awake, terrified. Jessica, what's happening? You've been screaming for 5 minutes. I told him everything. The article, the dead Catherine Mills, the disconnected phone number, the bloodstain, all of it. To his credit, he didn't tell me I was crazy. He just said, "We're getting rid of that dress right now." We drove to St. Mary's Church in Astoria at 6 a.m., the dress wrapped in garbage bags in the trunk. I don't know why we chose the church. It just felt right, like we needed to return it to where Catherine died. The church was old, stone, Gothic architecture, beautiful in the gray morning light. We found a side door unlocked and went inside. The sanctuary was empty. Rows of wooden pews, stained glass windows, the smell of candle wax and old wood. At the back, we found a narrow staircase leading up to what must have been the bridal preparation room. The same staircase Catherine fell down. Adam carried the dress up those stairs while I waited at the bottom. I couldn't bring myself to climb them. He disappeared into a room at the top, and I heard him moving around. When he came back down, he was pale. There's a portrait of her up there. Catherine Mills, on the wall, wearing that dress. We left the dress in that room, laid it out on a table like we were making an offering, and we ran. We literally ran from that church, got in the car, and drove back to Portland without speaking. The nightmares stopped that night. I slept through until morning for the first time in 2 weeks. When I woke up, Adam was already awake, looking at his phone with a strange expression. "What is it?" I asked. He showed me a news article from that morning. Human remains discovered at Astoria residence. Investigation underway. The article said police had discovered human remains in the basement of a home belonging to Thomas Reinhardt, 51. Reinhardt was being questioned about the death of his former fiancée, Catherine Mills, whose death 5 years ago had been ruled accidental. New evidence suggested Mills' death may have been murder. Reinhardt was also being investigated in connection with several missing persons cases dating back over a decade. I don't know how returning the dress led to that investigation. I don't know if Catherine's spirit somehow guided police to the evidence. I don't know if my nightmares were real visitations or just my subconscious processing trauma. What I do know is this: Catherine Mills was murdered by the man she was supposed to marry. And somehow, through that dress, she was trying to tell someone what happened to her. I bought a new wedding dress. A simple one from a department store. Nothing fancy. I didn't care about lace or beading or vintage styling anymore. I just wanted something that didn't have a history. Something that wasn't carrying the weight of a dead woman's final moments. Adam and I got married in October as planned. Small ceremony. Just family. And when I walked down the aisle in my simple department store dress, I didn't see any man with black eyes. I saw Adam. Just Adam. waiting for me with tears in his eyes and a smile that reached all the way to his soul. Sometimes I think about Catherine Mills. I hope she's at peace now. I hope she knows her killer was caught. I hope she can finally let go of that dress and that church and that terrible day. And I really hope that I was the last person she tried to reach. That no one else will buy a beautiful vintage wedding dress online and bring home something more than fabric and lace. But just in case, I check wedding dress listings on Facebook Marketplace sometimes, looking for vintage dresses being sold by people who called it off or just want it gone. Making sure Catherine's dress hasn't appeared again. Making sure no one else wears the dress of a murdered bride. My name is Rachel Summers. I'm 33. I work as a dental hygienist. And I thought I was doing everything right. That's what makes this so terrifying. I followed every safety rule, every piece of advice about online marketplace transactions, and I still almost didn't make it home. This happened last summer in Denver. I'd been selling some of my photography equipment on Facebook Marketplace, a camera lens I'd upgraded from, still worth about $600. I posted it on a Wednesday afternoon, and by evening I had a dozen messages. Most were lowball offers or obvious scams, people asking me to ship it overseas, offering to pay with cashier's checks. The usual red flags. But one message seemed legitimate. "Hi, I'm interested in the lens. I'm local. Can we meet this weekend? I can pay cash." The profile belonged to someone named Derek Martinez. His page looked real photos, going back years, friends, check-ins at local restaurants. Not a fake account. I responded that Saturday would work. He suggested we meet at a Target parking lot. I immediately pushed back. I'd read too many stories about marketplace meetups going wrong in parking lots. Robberies, assaults, even worse. I had a better idea. How about the police station on Alameda? They have a designated safe exchange zone in the parking lot. Well lit. Cameras. Police presence. He agreed immediately. Smart thinking. Noon on Saturday? Perfect. I felt good about this. Police stations had become popular meetup spots, specifically because criminals wouldn't risk doing anything illegal there. Some departments even advertised their parking lots as safe exchange zones, encouraging people to use them for online transactions. I told my roommate Emily where I was going, what time, and who I was meeting. She thought I was being paranoid, but supported it anyway. "Text me when you're done," she said. Saturday arrived, beautiful summer day. Clear skies, warm. I drove to the Alameda police station around 11:50. Lens packed carefully in my camera bag. The safe exchange zone was marked with signs and painted parking spaces right near the main entrance. There were already 2 other people there completing a transaction, a woman and a teenage kid, exchanging what looked like video games. Normal. Safe. I parked and waited. Derek arrived 5 minutes later in a black Nissan sedan. He got out, and he matched his profile photos, mid-30s. Hispanic, wearing jeans and a polo shirt. Friendly smile. "Rachel?" he called out. "That's me. You're Derek?" "Yeah. Thanks for meeting me here. My wife actually suggested it. She's paranoid about marketplace stuff." He laughed. We made small talk while I showed him the lens. He examined it carefully, tested the focusing mechanism, checked for scratches. He clearly knew what he was looking at, asked technical questions about the aperture range and whether I'd used any filters with it. "It's in great condition," he said. "I'll take it." $600, right? Right. He pulled out his wallet and counted out $600 bills. As he handed them to me, a police officer walked out of the station entrance. Not a patrol officer, someone in a different uniform. Command staff, maybe. Older guy. Probably in his 50s. With graying hair and a solid build. He walked directly toward us. "Folks doing an exchange?" he asked, friendly but authoritative. "Yes, sir," Derek said. "Just bought a camera lens." The officer nodded. "Good deal using the safe zone. Unfortunately, we're getting some construction done on this parking lot next week." so we're moving the exchange zone temporarily. You'll want to use the West Precinct station on Morrison if you do any more transactions." "Oh, okay," I said. "Good to know." The officer looked at Derek. "Sir, I'm going to need you to move your vehicle. You're parked in a spot we're marking for the construction crew. Can you pull around to the other side of the lot?" Derek looked confused. "Sure, no problem." The officer turned to me. "Ma'am, I'll need to verify the transaction for our records. It's a new policy for the safe exchange zone. Can you come with me to the office? Just take a minute to log it in our system." Something felt off. I couldn't pinpoint what, but something in my gut twisted. "Log the transaction?" I asked. "I've used safe exchange zones before. I've never had to log anything. New policy as of last month," he said smoothly. "Helps us track crime patterns, make sure the zones are being used properly. It's voluntary, but we encourage it." Derek had already gotten back in his car and was pulling away to move it. The woman and teenager who'd been doing their own exchange were gone. I was alone with this officer in the parking lot. "I actually need to get going," I said, trying to sound casual. "But thanks for letting me know about the location change." I started walking toward my car. The officer followed. "Ma'am, this will only take a moment. It's really important for our statistics." I kept walking. My car was maybe 20 feet away. "I appreciate that, but I'm in a hurry." His hand touched my elbow. Light pressure, but unmistakable. "I'm going to need you to come inside." That's when I knew. The touch was wrong. The insistence was wrong. Everything about this situation was wrong. I yanked my arm away and spun to face him. "Don't touch me," he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile anymore. "Ma'am, I'm a police officer. I'm asking you nicely to come inside for a moment. Then you won't mind if I call 911 to verify you're actually an officer." I pulled out my phone. His expression changed. The smile dropped completely. "That won't be necessary," he said, voice flat now. "I'm asking for your cooperation." My hands were shaking as I dialed 911. He watched me, not moving, just standing there. When the dispatcher answered, I kept my eyes on him. "I'm at the Alameda police station parking lot," I said clearly. "There's a man in a police-style uniform claiming to be an officer and insisting I go inside with him. I need to verify his identity." The dispatcher's tone changed immediately. "Ma'am, stay on the line." "What does he look like?" I described him. The officer, or whoever he was, took 2 steps backward. "Ma'am," the dispatcher said carefully, "our officers are aware of your call. Someone is coming out now. Do not go anywhere with that individual." "Is he still there?" "Yes. Keep your distance from him. Help is coming." The main door of the police station burst open. 2 actual uniformed officers came running out, hands on their holstered weapons. They saw me, saw the man in the uniform, and everything happened fast. On the ground, now, the fake officer bolted. He ran toward the back of the parking lot, but he wasn't fast enough. One of the real officers tackled him within seconds. The other approached me. "Are you okay? Did he hurt you?" "No, I'm fine. He tried to get me to go inside with him. He said he was an officer and needed to log my transaction." The officer's face went grim. "There's no transaction logging policy, and we're not doing any construction. Someone called Detective Morris." Now, they arrested the man. His uniform was a costume close enough to pass casual inspection, but wrong in dozens of small details. Wrong patches, wrong badge, wrong everything. He wasn't a cop. He wasn't even a former cop. He was a predator who'd been hanging around police station parking lots, watching for people coming to safe exchange zones, targeting women who came alone. Detective Morris interviewed me for over an hour. She was in her 40s, professional, but clearly shaken by the case. "You did everything right," she told me. "Using the safe exchange zone, telling someone where you'd be, questioning him when something felt off, calling 911 immediately. You probably saved your own life. How many others?" I asked. She hesitated. "We don't know yet. We're investigating. But this isn't his first time. They found his car in a nearby lot. Inside was rope, duct tape, zip ties, a knife. In his apartment, they found jewelry, women's jewelry, earrings, necklaces, bracelets, 43 pieces, each in its own plastic bag, labeled with dates, trophies. The investigation revealed he'd been doing this for at least 2 years. He'd watch police station parking lots, identify women who came alone for marketplace transactions, approach them in his fake uniform, and use his authority to isolate them. Once he got them away from the public eye into his car, to a secondary location, anywhere private he'd attack. They found evidence linking him to 3 missing persons cases. Women who'd told friends they were going to police stations for safe exchanges and never came home. The man's name was Curtis Hammond. 47 years old, worked as a security guard at an office building. No criminal record, he'd never been caught before. In court, he maintained he'd done nothing wrong, that he was just trying to help facilitate safe transactions. The evidence said otherwise. He was convicted of attempted kidnapping, impersonating a police officer, and 3 counts of first-degree murder. He'll die in prison. Derek Martinez, the guy who'd bought my camera lens, testified at the trial. He felt horrible, kept apologizing to me, even though none of it was his fault. He'd been a real buyer, legitimate transaction, complete coincidence that Curtis Hammond had been watching that particular exchange that day. I keep thinking about what would have happened if he'd approached you first, before I got there, Derek told me. If you'd been alone with him when he asked you to go inside. I think about that too. I think about it a lot. I still sell things online sometimes, but I don't use police stations anymore. The irony is too bitter. The one place that's supposed to be safest became a hunting ground for a predator specifically because people trusted it. Now I meet people in busy coffee shops during peak hours. Or I ask buyers to come to my workplace where there are always colleagues around. Or I just donate things instead of selling them because $600 isn't worth the risk. The thing that haunts me most isn't what almost happened to me. It's thinking about those 3 women whose jewelry Curtis Hammond kept. Women who thought they were being safe. Women who trusted a uniform and an air of authority. Women who went to a police station parking lot because that's what you're supposed to do. And they still disappeared. I wonder if they questioned him like I did. I wonder if they felt that same gut instinct that something was wrong. I wonder if they hesitated. And he pushed harder. And they complied. Because we're taught from childhood to obey police officers. There's a memorial now at the Alameda station. 3 plaques with the names of the women Curtis Hammond murdered. Jennifer Reeves, 28. Alicia Park, 34. Samantha Dunn, 26. All of them had gone to that parking lot for marketplace exchanges. All of them trusted the safe exchange zone to protect them. I visit sometimes. Leave flowers. Stand there and think about how close I came to being the 4th plaque. People ask me for advice now, friends selling things online, co-workers, even strangers in Facebook groups dedicated to safe marketplace practices. They ask, what should I do? Where should I meet people? How can I stay safe? And I tell them the truth. There is no perfectly safe option. Predators evolve. They study our safety measures and find ways around them. They exploit the very things we do to protect ourselves. But I also tell them this: trust your gut. If something feels wrong, even if you can't articulate why, even if the person seems legitimate, even if you're in a safe location, listen to that instinct. Don't worry about being rude. Don't worry about offending someone. Don't let anyone make you feel obligated to comply with something that makes you uncomfortable. Because the person who seems most trustworthy might be the most dangerous. The safest location might be where predators hunt. And the uniform that's supposed to protect you might belong to someone who wants to hurt you. Curtis Hammond taught me that. And those 3 women who didn't survive taught me that. I still have the $600 Derek paid me for that camera lens. I've never spent it. It sits in an envelope in my desk drawer. And sometimes I take it out and look at it and think about how much that transaction cost. Not in money. In trust. In safety. in the naive belief that there are places where bad things can't happen to you. There aren't. There are no safe places. There are only careful people, lucky timing, and the instinct to run when something feels wrong. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes. My name is Kevin Park. I'm 29, and I collect vintage action figures. I know how that sounds grown, man, collecting toys, but some of these things are worth serious money. Original Star Wars figures and packaging can go for thousands. I'm not that hardcore, but I know value when I see it. 3 months ago, I saw a listing on OfferUp that made my heart race. Someone was selling an original 1,985 Cobra Commander figure from G.I. Joe, still in the package, for $250. If it was real and in good condition, it was worth at least $800, maybe $1,000 to the right collector. The seller's username was CollectorDave81. His profile looked legitimate member for 3 years. Lots of positive reviews, mostly selling toys and comics. I messaged him immediately. "Is this still available? Can I see it today?" He responded fast. "Yeah, it's available. I'm downtown, can meet in an hour. Where works for you?" I suggested a Starbucks, but he pushed back. "I'm in a parking garage near my office, 5th and Main, level 3. I'm working late tonight, but can step out for 10 minutes. That work?" Parking garage wasn't my first choice, but downtown garages are usually busy. Well lit, security cameras everywhere, and I really wanted that figure. "Okay, I can be there at 7. Perfect. I'll be in a white Camry. See you then." I left my apartment around 6:30. The drive downtown took 20 minutes. I found the parking garage he'd mentioned, one of those multi-level structures attached to an office building. I pulled in, took the ramp up to level 3. It was emptier than I expected. Most of the office workers had gone home for the day. Maybe 15 cars scattered across the level, harsh fluorescent lights casting weird shadows. I drove slowly, looking for a white Camry. I found it in the far corner, backed into a space near the stairwell. Collector Dave, real name apparently. Dave was leaning against the driver's door, looking at his phone. Mid-40s, wearing business casual, glasses. He looked up when I approached and smiled. "Kevin? That's me. You're Dave?" "Yep." He reached into his car through the open window and pulled out a plastic case. Inside was the action figure, still in its original cardboard backing and plastic bubble. "Here it is. Mint condition." I examined it carefully under the garage lights. The packaging looked authentic. Right font, right colors, right manufacturer markings. The figure inside was perfect. No discoloration or damage. This was the real deal. "It's perfect," I said. "I'll take it." That's when I heard it. The sound of a car door opening. Then another. Then another. I looked up. 3 vehicles had appeared: a van, an SUV, and a sedan. They'd pulled up quietly while I was focused on the toy. They were positioned in a semicircle behind me, blocking my car in. Men got out, 4 of them. They didn't say anything, just stood there, watching. Dave's friendly expression evaporated. "Put the toy down." My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. "What is this?" "Wallet, phone, keys, on the ground, now." I looked at the men. They were moving closer, casual but purposeful. One of them was holding something I couldn't tell what, but the way he held it made it clear it was a weapon. My brain went into overdrive. I was surrounded. My car was blocked. The stairwell was maybe 20 feet away, but they'd catch me before I got there. Screaming wouldn't help. We were 3 levels up in a mostly empty garage. "I don't have much cash," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Maybe $40. "We'll take the cards," Dave said. "And you're going to tell us the pins." That's when I understood. This wasn't just a robbery. They were going to take me somewhere. Force me to withdraw money from ATMs, maybe worse. People who plan robberies in parking garages don't just take your wallet and leave, they take you. I had maybe 3 seconds to make a decision. I threw the action figure case at Dave's face as hard as I could. He flinched, hands going up instinctively. I ran. Not toward the stairwell, they expected that. I ran between the parked cars, toward the exit ramp. My only chance was to get to a lower level, where there might be more people, more witnesses, security. I heard shouting behind me. Footsteps. I dodged between a pickup truck and a minivan, jumped over a concrete parking divider, kept running. The exit ramp was ahead. I could see the yellow lines, the downward slope. Something grabbed my jacket. I twisted violently, felt the fabric tear, broke free. Kept running. I hit the ramp at full speed, nearly lost my footing on the turn, caught myself on the wall. Behind me, I could hear them 2, maybe 3 of them chasing. They were faster than me. I was running out of time. Level 2 appeared. More cars here, but still no people. I sprinted toward the center of the garage, looking for the elevator, the security office, anything. And then I saw them. A couple, walking toward their car, shopping bags in hand. Normal people. Witnesses. I ran straight toward them, shouting, "Help! Call 911! I'm being chased!" The couple froze. The man fumbled for his phone. The woman screamed when she saw the men behind me. My pursuers stopped. Just stopped, 20 feet away, watching. The man with the weapon I could see now. It was a tire iron slowly back toward the ramp. "Call the police," I said to the couple, breathing so hard I could barely speak. "They tried to rob me. Parking garage scam." Level 3. The man was already on the phone with 911. The woman kept looking between me and the men on the ramp. "Are you hurt?" "No, but they're getting away." The men were gone by the time police arrived. I gave descriptions. Dave's white Camry. The van. The SUV. The 4 men. But I hadn't gotten license plates. I'd been too focused on the toy, then too focused on running. The police took it seriously. Turned out there had been 6 similar robberies in that garage over the past 2 months. Same pattern: someone poses as a seller, lures buyers to level 3, accomplices appear, victims get robbed or worse. 2 people had been taken to ATMs and forced to withdraw cash. 1 had been hospitalized with injuries. "You got lucky," the detective told me. These guys are organized. They watch who comes and goes. Time their attacks when the garage is emptiest. You running toward witnesses was smart. Probably saved you from a really bad night. They never caught them. The garage security footage showed the vehicles entering but not exiting. They must have known where the cameras were and avoided them on the way out. Dave's OfferUp profile was deleted within an hour. The collectibles he'd been selling were all bait stolen photos from legitimate sellers, used to lure people in. I filed a police report. Warned people in my collector communities. Posted about it on Reddit and Facebook. Trying to prevent others from falling for the same scam. I still collect action figures. But now I only do transactions in public places during daylight hours. Coffee shops, mall food courts, the lobby of my apartment building with the doorman present. Never parking garages, never isolated locations, never after dark. And I look at license plates now. Every single vehicle near a transaction. I memorize the plate. I keep my phone recording in my pocket. I tell people exactly where I'll be and who I'm meeting. Because that $250 action figure almost cost me everything. The worst part? I still think about that Cobra Commander figure sometimes. How perfect it looked in its packaging. How the plastic was pristine, the cardboard unfaded. It was probably real, probably stolen from some actual collector's home during a burglary. And it was just bait. A lure to get me into that corner, surrounded by men with weapons, with no way out. Sometimes I wonder how many other people saw that listing. How many showed up at that garage before me? How many didn't run fast enough, or didn't find witnesses in time? I wonder what happened to them, and I wonder if Dave and his crew are still out there, posting listings for vintage toys and comics and collectibles, waiting in some other parking garage in some other city, ready to surround the next person who thinks $250 is a good deal. I hope whoever sees those listings recognizes them for what they are. Traps. Because that's what they are. Professional, coordinated traps set by people who know exactly what they're doing. And the scariest part? They're really good at it. My name is Melissa Chen, and my husband Tom and I almost didn't make it home from a furniture sale. What started as a Saturday afternoon drive to look at a farmhouse table turned into the most terrifying 16 hours of our lives. This happened last October, and we still don't talk about it much. But people need to know what's out there. What can happen when you drive down the wrong road looking for a good deal? Tom and I had just bought our first house in Eugene, Oregon, a fixer-upper with good bones but no furniture. We were furnishing it piece by piece, trying to keep costs down. I'd been scrolling Facebook Marketplace for weeks when I found the perfect listing. Farmhouse dining table and 6 chairs. Solid oak, $600. The photos showed a beautiful rustic table with matching ladder-back chairs. Real wood, probably handmade, the kind of piece that would cost $3,000 new. The listing had been posted by someone named John Barlow. His profile was sparse, just a few photos of him at what looked like a farm, maybe 50 years old, wearing overalls and a flannel shirt. Very country living aesthetic. I messaged him. "Hi. Is this still available? When can we see it?" His response came an hour later. "Still available. You can come see it tomorrow if you want. We're about an hour outside Eugene. Private road, so I'll send directions." Tom was skeptical. "An hour away on a private road? That's pretty remote." "It's a farm," I said. "Farms are remote. And look at this table, it's exactly what we need." We left around noon on Saturday. It was one of those perfect fall days, clear sky, leaves turning gold and red, temperature in the 60s. We took Tom's truck, figured we'd need it to haul the furniture home. John had sent detailed directions. Take Highway 58 east. Turn onto Monroe Road. Follow it for 18 miles. Look for a dirt road marked with a green mailbox. Follow that for 3 more miles. The highway portion was fine. Monroe Road started getting rural, fewer houses, more forest. By mile 10, we hadn't seen another car in 20 minutes. By mile 15, we hadn't seen a house. "This is really remote," Tom said, voicing what we were both thinking. "We're almost there. 3 more miles to the dirt road." We found the green mailbox. The dirt road beyond it was narrow, barely wide enough for one vehicle, with forest pressing in on both sides. Tree branches scraped the truck as we drove. The road wound through the trees, up and down small hills, no houses visible anywhere. After 2 miles, Tom stopped the truck. "I don't like this. We should turn around. We're almost there. 1 more mile. If it looks sketchy, we'll leave." He reluctantly continued. The trees started thinning out, and we emerged into a clearing. Ahead was a property, several buildings, actually. A main farmhouse, a large barn, a few smaller structures, and people, at least a dozen people moving around the property, working on various tasks. "That's a lot of people for a farm," Tom said quietly. A man walked toward our truck, 50s, gray beard, work clothes. "You folks, the ones looking at the table?" "Yeah," I said through the window. "I'm Melissa. This is Tom. We're here to see John Barlow?" "I'm John, welcome. The table's in the barn. Come on, I'll show you." We got out of the truck. The property felt wrong immediately. All the people working tending gardens, carrying wood, repairing a fence they moved in this synchronized way. Nobody talked. Nobody looked at us. They just worked, faces blank, wearing similar simple clothing. "You've got a lot of helpers," Tom said carefully. "Community," John said. "We all live here together, work together. It's a good life." He led us toward the barn. As we walked, I noticed more details. The buildings were old but well maintained. There was a solar panel array behind the house, a chicken coop, gardens everywhere. This wasn't just a farm, this was a compound, a self-sufficient, isolated compound. Inside the barn, the table was exactly as advertised. Beautiful craftsmanship, solid oak, 6 matching chairs. But I barely looked at it. I was looking at everything else in the barn. Tools. A lot of tools. Organized on walls, hung from hooks. Normal farm tools, shovels, axes, saws, but also other things. Heavy chains. Industrial padlocks. A box of zip ties. Rolls of heavy plastic sheeting. Tom saw it too. He touched my arm gently. Warning. It's beautiful, I said, keeping my voice normal. Can we think about it? Maybe come back next weekend? John's expression changed. Subtle, but I saw it. You drove all this way. Why not just take it now? I'll even help you load it. We need to measure our dining room first, Tom said smoothly. Make sure it'll fit. We should have done that before driving out here. Our mistake. 2 more men appeared in the barn doorway. One was younger, maybe 30, muscular build. The other was older, 60s, carrying a toolbox. They didn't say anything, just stood there, blocking the exit. That's my son, Michael, John said, gesturing to the younger man. And that's Robert. They can help load the table. You've got a truck. You've got cash, right? You said in your messages you'd bring cash. We brought some, I lied, but not enough for 600. We were going to negotiate. John smiled. It wasn't friendly. I don't negotiate. Price is price. But you came all this way. Seems like you should at least stay for dinner. We eat together, all of us. 6 o'clock. You could meet everyone. See how we live. That's very kind, Tom said. But we need to get back. Early. Start tomorrow. It's 2:30 now, John said. You've got time. Besides, it'd be rude to refuse hospitality. The way he said it, it wasn't an invitation. It was an expectation. Maybe a test. Tom looked at me. I could see him calculating. We were an hour from the main road, 3 miles down a private road, surrounded by people who moved like they'd been trained to follow orders. Our phones hadn't had signal since we turned onto Monroe Road. Dinner sounds nice, I said. Thank you. John's smile widened. Wonderful. Michael, show them around the property. Make them feel welcome. Michael led us out of the barn. You'll like it here, he said. His voice was flat, rehearsed. We all found peace in this place. Freed ourselves from the corruption outside. How long have you lived here? Tom asked. 7 years. Best decision I ever made. Gave up everything, job, apartment, old life. Came here to live honestly. We all did. As he walked us around, I counted people. 19 total. Ranging from early 20s to late 60s. All wearing similar plain clothing, neutral colors. Simple cuts. All working on tasks with that same synchronized efficiency. And all watching us. Subtle glances. Quick looks. They were tracking our movements. We passed a garden where 3 women were harvesting vegetables. How big is this property? I asked one of them. She looked at Michael before answering. He gave a small nod. 300 acres, she said. We're completely self-sufficient. Don't need anything from outside. Must be nice, I said, trying to sound casual. Very peaceful. It is, she said. But her eyes said something else. Something desperate. Michael showed us the main house communal dining area, kitchen, living spaces, no private rooms visible, everything shared. On the wall hung a large painted sign, Unity through sacrifice, freedom through surrender, cult. This was a cult. We'd driven to a remote compound, surrounded by people who'd given up everything, led by a man who spoke about community and corruption outside. And we were expected to stay for dinner. Tom leaned close to me. We need to leave. Now. How? They're watching us. Our truck is surrounded by people. We'll say you're sick. Food poisoning. Need to get home. We found John in the kitchen preparing food with two other men. "John, I'm sorry, but Melissa isn't feeling well. We should head home." John kept chopping vegetables. "Really?" "She looked fine a minute ago." "It came on suddenly," I said, putting a hand to my stomach. "I think something I ate at breakfast. We have medicine here. Natural remedies. Robert's very skilled with herbs. He'll fix you right up." John gestured to the older man from the barn. "Robert, Melissa's feeling ill. Can you prepare something?" Robert nodded and left the room. This was getting worse. They weren't going to let us leave. "Actually," Tom said, voice harder now, "we're going to go. Thanks for your hospitality. But we need to leave." John finally looked up from his chopping. "Your truck's blocked in." Michael parked the tractor behind it. "For safety, we had a problem with vehicles rolling down the hill. But don't worry, we'll move it." After dinner, there it was. The truth laid bare. We weren't leaving until they decided we could leave. Tom's jaw tightened. "Move it now." "We're going." John set down his knife. "You came here for furniture. Drove all this way. Seems disrespectful to leave before experiencing what we've built. We don't get visitors often. When we do, we like them to understand our way of life. Really understand it." 3 more people entered the kitchen. Young men, strong, positioning themselves between us and the door. "What do you want from us?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Just dinner," John said. "Conversation. Maybe you'll see that there's another way to live. Maybe you'll want to stay." Lots of people do. They come looking for furniture, or eggs, or whatever we're selling, and then they see the peace we've found, the purpose, and they choose to stay. "And if we don't want to stay?" Tom asked. John smiled. "Then you drive home. With the table. $600, like we agreed. Nobody's keeping you prisoner. We're not monsters." But his eyes said something different. His eyes said, "If you try to leave now, you won't make it to the truck." We sat through dinner. 19 people, plus John, Michael, Robert, and us. 24 total, around a long table in the main house. They served vegetable stew, homemade bread, water. Everyone ate in silence except for John, who talked. He talked about society's corruption, the poison of modern life, how money enslaved people, how cities destroyed souls, how the only true freedom came from rejecting the outside world entirely. His followers nodded along, some murmuring agreement, others just staring at their bowls. I looked at their faces. Some seemed genuinely content, others looked hollow, empty, like they'd had something essential scooped out of them. And a few, 3 or 4 of them looked at Tom and me with expressions I recognized. Fear. Warning. They were trying to tell us something without speaking. Get out while you can. After dinner, John suggested we stay overnight. It's getting dark. That dirt road's dangerous at night. You could stay in the guest quarters. Leave in the morning. We'll be fine, Tom said. We've driven in the dark before. I insist. John's voice had an edge now. Michael, show them the guest house. Michael led us to a small building behind the main house. 1 room, 2 twin beds. A bathroom. 1 window. No lock on the door. Or rather, no lock on the inside. There was a heavy sliding bolt on the outside. Rest up, Michael said. Breakfast is at 6. Someone will come get you. He left. We heard the bolt slide closed. We were locked in. Tom immediately checked the window. Nailed shut. Recently, by the look of it, I sat on one of the beds, trying not to panic. They're going to try to make us stay. That's what this is. They lure people here, break them down, indoctrinate them. We're not staying. Tom was checking every corner of the room, looking for anything useful. He found a loose nail in the windowsill, pocketed it. When they open that door tomorrow, we run. Run where? We're 3 miles from the main road through forest. They know this property. We don't. Then we drive. We get to the truck. We drive through whatever they've blocked us with. We waited until we heard voices in the main house quiet down. Midnight. Maybe later. The property had gone dark, except for a few solar lights along the paths. Tom worked on the window with the nail, slowly prying up the nails, holding it shut. It took an hour. When he finally got it open, the night air rushed in cool, damp, carrying the smell of pine and earth. We could hear nothing except rain and wind and the distant sound of an owl. "I'll go first," Tom whispered. "If it's clear, you follow." He squeezed through the window, dropped to the ground outside. I heard him land, waited. He appeared at the window. "Come on." I climbed through, dropped beside him. We crouched in the darkness, letting our eyes adjust. The compound was mostly dark, but we could see shapes, buildings, vehicles, paths. Our truck was still blocked by the tractor. "We need the tractor keys," I whispered. "Probably in the barn. Too risky." "Then we move it manually." "Put it in neutral. Push it." We moved toward the barn, staying low, using shadows. The property was eerily quiet. No guards visible, but that didn't mean they weren't watching. These people were organized, methodical. They'd done this before. We reached the tractor. Tom climbed up, trying to release the brake, shifted to neutral. I watched the buildings, waiting for lights to come on, for doors to open, for someone to shout, "Got it," Tom whispered. "Help me push." We pushed. The tractor barely moved. Too heavy. And the ground was soft from rain. We pushed harder, managed to move it a few feet. Then a few more. Our truck was almost clear. That's when the lights came on. All of them. Every building, every path light. Like a switch had been flipped. The entire compound lit up bright as day, and people emerged. From the main house, from the barn, from other buildings. They didn't rush. They just walked toward us, calm and purposeful, surrounding our truck. John appeared on the main house porch. "You could have just told us you wanted to leave. We're not unreasonable." "Open the way," Tom said. "Let us go." "Of course. But first, we need to make something clear." John descended the steps, walked toward us. The circle of people tightened. People who leave don't come back, and they don't tell anyone about us. We've worked hard to build this place away from outside interference. We need to trust that you'll respect that. "We won't tell anyone," I said. "We just want to go home." "I believe you," John said. But his smile said he didn't. "Robert, bring the papers." Robert appeared with a folder. Inside were documents, multiple pages of small text. John handed them to Tom. "You'll sign these. They're a formality. Essentially, you're agreeing that you were never here, that this property doesn't exist, that if anyone asks, you never drove out here." Tom looked at the papers. "These aren't legally binding." "No, but they're morally binding. To us, that matters more." "And if we don't sign?" John's expression hardened. "Then we have a problem. Because we can't have people out there who know about us, who might bring police or federal agents or journalists. We've seen what happens when the outside world takes an interest in alternative communities. Ruby Ridge, Waco. We won't let that happen here. We're not a threat to you," I said. "Sign the papers and prove it." Tom looked at me. We both understood. These documents meant nothing legally, but refusing to sign meant we weren't leaving at all. They'd keep us here, maybe indefinitely, until we either joined them or... I didn't want to think about the or. Tom signed, handed the pen to me. I signed. John took the documents, smiled. "Thank you. You've done the right thing. Michael, move the tractor." Michael climbed onto the tractor, started it up, moved it aside. Our path was clear. We got into the truck. Tom started the engine. "Drive safely," John called out. "And remember, this place doesn't exist. You were never here." Tom drove. Down the dirt road, through the forest, every pothole and rut jarring us. I kept looking in the side mirror, expecting to see headlights following us. But there was only darkness. We reached the green mailbox. Turned onto Monroe Road. Still no signal on our phones. Kept driving. The forest pressed in on both sides, dark and endless. It wasn't until we hit Highway 58, back in the world of streetlights and passing cars, that we finally let ourselves believe we'd escaped. We drove straight home. Didn't stop. Didn't talk. When we pulled into our driveway at 4 in the morning, we both just sat there for a long moment. "What do we do?" I finally asked. "Nothing," Tom said. "We do nothing. We have to report them. That's a cult. Those people are being held against their will." "Are they? Did you see anyone restrained? Anyone asking for help? Or did you see people who chose to be there?" "Some of them look scared. Some of them. Not all. And we signed papers saying we were never there. If we report it, they'll deny everything. It'll be our word against 24 people who'll say we're lying." He was right. We had no proof. No photos our phones hadn't worked. No documentation except papers we'd signed, promising we'd never been there. And the address? 3 miles down a dirt road marked with a green mailbox. Wouldn't help police find anything if the residents decided to remove that mailbox. We did nothing. For 2 weeks, we did nothing. We went to work, came home, tried to pretend it hadn't happened. Then one night, I couldn't stand it anymore. I got on my laptop and searched for John Barlow, Eugene, Oregon, farm. I searched for missing persons in the area. I searched for reports of cults or compounds. I found 3 news stories from the past decade. People who'd gone to rural properties to buy things, furniture, eggs, livestock, and never came home. Cars found abandoned on forest roads. No suspects. No evidence. Cases gone cold. I showed Tom. He stared at the screen for a long time. We were lucky. We need to tell someone. Who? We don't even know the exact location. We could spend weeks driving back roads looking for that green mailbox. And what if we never find it? What if they moved it? What if the whole property is gone? Then we tell police what we know. Give them the names John Barlow, Michael, Robert, and they investigate. And maybe they find the place, and maybe 24 people die in a standoff. Or maybe they find nothing, and John and his followers decide we broke our promise and come looking for us. So we did nothing. And we've done nothing for 6 months now. We don't talk about it. We don't go to estate sales anymore. Or respond to marketplace listings for furniture. Or drive down rural roads. Sometimes I wonder about the people we saw there. The ones who looked content and the ones who looked terrified. I wonder if they're still there. I wonder if new people have joined. I wonder if anyone else has driven down that dirt road looking for a farmhouse table. And I wonder about those cold cases. The people who went to buy things and never came home. Were they at the same compound? Did John invite them to dinner too? Did they sign the papers? Or did they refuse? What happens to the ones who refuse? Last week, I saw a new listing on Facebook Marketplace. Farmhouse dining table and 6 chairs, solid oak, $600. Different account, different seller name, but the photos looked familiar. Same table, same barn in the background. I reported the listing. It was taken down within hours, then reappeared 2 days later. Different account again. Same table, same price. They're still out there. Still posting listings. Still waiting for the next couple to drive down that dirt road looking for furniture. And maybe one day we'll do what we should have done 6 months ago. We'll go to the police with everything we know. We'll try to find that property again. We'll do something. But right now, tonight, we're just 2 people who drove to a furniture sale and barely made it home. 2 people who signed papers promising we were never there. 2 people who are too scared to break that promise. Because somewhere in the forest outside Eugene, John Barlow is standing on his porch, watching the road, waiting for the next car to arrive. And he knows we're out here, somewhere in the city, living our lives, carrying his secret. He knows that if we tell, he'll come looking. We bought new furniture at IKEA last month. It's not real wood. It's not handcrafted. It cost twice as much as that farmhouse table. But we didn't have to drive down a dirt road to get it. We didn't have to sign papers promising we were never there. And we came home. That's worth more than any table, even if it means living with the knowledge that other people won't be so lucky. My name is Tyler Brooks. I'm 19, and I thought I was smart. Thought I knew all the marketplace scams. Thought I could spot a con from a mile away. Turns out, trying to outsmart criminals is a really good way to end up in over your head. This happened last spring when I was a senior in high school. I'd saved up for months to buy an iPhone. 14 Pro, worked after school, birthday, money, the whole deal. Finally had enough to buy it new from the Apple Store. That phone was my prized possession. 3 months later, I cracked the screen. Not just a little crack, the whole thing shattered. I took it to a repair shop. They quoted me $300. I didn't have $300, so I decided to sell it and buy a used phone instead. I listed it on OfferUp. iPhone 14 Pro, cracked screen, otherwise perfect, $450. Within an hour, I had a message from someone named Tech Buyer, PDX. He offered $450, said he'd meet me that day. We arranged to meet at a McDonald's parking lot near my school. He showed up in a Honda Civic, probably mid-20s, wearing a hoodie and jeans. "Tyler?" he called out. "Yeah, your tech buyer? Just call me Marcus. Let me see the phone." I handed it to him. He examined it carefully, turned it on, checked the functions, tested the camera. Everything worked except the touchscreen was a bit finicky because of the cracks. "Screen's pretty bad," he said. "I'll give you $350. Classic negotiation tactic. Listing said $450. Screen damage was in the photos. $375. Final offer. I should have just taken it. Should have been happy with $375 and walked away. But I was cocky. Thought I was in control. $400, I countered. "That's my bottom line," he sighed. "Fine. $400. He pulled out his wallet, counted out 4 $100 bills. As he handed them to me, he said, "Can I just test one more thing? Make sure the battery health is good?" "Sure." He opened the settings, went to battery health. While he was doing that, his phone rang. He answered it, turning slightly away from me. "Yeah? Now? Okay, give me 5 minutes." He hung up, handed my phone back. "Battery's good. Thanks." We each got in our cars. I drove home feeling pretty good about the deal. $400 for a broken phone wasn't bad. It wasn't until that night that I realized what had happened. I was setting up my old backup phone when I decided to factory reset the iPhone before selling it. Wait, I'd already sold it, but something nagged at me. I pulled out the phone Marcus had handed back to me. The serial number was different. I checked the settings. Different phone. Same model, same color, but this one had a completely fried battery, a bent frame, and when I tried to turn it on, it boot looped and died. He'd switched it. During that phone call, while he was turned away, he'd swapped my working phone for a broken one. Classic sleight of hand. And I'd been so focused on congratulating myself for getting $400 that I hadn't noticed. I was furious. I pulled up OfferUp, found his profile deleted. Completely gone. I tried to call the number he'd messaged from disconnected. I checked my messages for any information, nothing. No real name, no way to contact him. I'd been scammed out of a $400 phone and left with a worthless piece of metal. Most people would have cut their losses. Filed a police report, ate the loss, moved on. But I was 19 and stupid and angry. I decided I was going to find this guy and get my phone back. I started by creating a fake OfferUp account and posting another iPhone for sale. Same model, same condition, same price. If Marcus was a professional scammer, he'd be looking for more targets. It took 3 days, but he messaged me. Different username, TechBuyer SEA. But same approach. Quick response. Wanted to meet same day, same McDonald's parking lot. I knew it was him. I set up the meet for the next afternoon. But this time, I had a plan. I borrowed my friend Jake's phone, an identical model to mine, and I was going to catch him in the act, record him switching phones, get evidence, then call the police. He showed up in the same Honda Civic. I acted like I didn't recognize him. Played the nervous seller. He went through the same routine, examining the phone, testing functions, then the fake phone call while turned away. But this time, I was watching. And I saw it. The switch. He had an identical phone in his hoodie pocket. While his back was turned, he swapped phones in less than 3 seconds. It was smooth, professional, practiced. When he turned around to hand me the fake phone, I said, "That's not my phone." His expression didn't change. "What are you talking about? You just switched it. Give me back the real phone." He smiled. "You're confused. This is the phone you handed me." "No, it's not. I saw you, and I recorded it." I held up my own phone, which had been recording video the whole time from my jacket pocket. His smile dropped. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then he said, very quietly, "You shouldn't have done that." He got in his car and drove off. I stood there, heart pounding, watching him leave. I had him on video. I had evidence. I could take this to the police. I should have taken it to the police right then. Instead, I posted the video on TikTok with his face clearly visible, captioned, "PSA. This guy scams people on OfferUp. Watch your phones." The video went viral. Like, actually viral. 100,000 views in the first day. 200,000. By the end of the week, people in the comments started recognizing him, sharing their own stories of being scammed by the same guy. Someone identified him. His real name was Marcus Webb. Known scammer. Multiple aliases. Worked with a crew that did phone swaps, laptop scams, electronics fraud. I felt vindicated. I'd exposed him. He couldn't scam people anymore now that everyone knew his face. Then the messages started. First, from accounts I didn't recognize. "Delete the video. You made a mistake. Take it down now." Then more specific threats. "We know where you live. We know what school you go to." I showed my parents. They freaked out. We filed a police report. An officer came to our house, took statements, said he'd investigate. But he also said something that made my blood run cold. "If this guy's working with a crew, they might see you as a threat. You expose their operation. They might retaliate." Retaliate how? Intimidation, vandalism. Sometimes worse. These aren't just petty scammers. Phone theft rings can be connected to bigger organizations. You might have pissed off the wrong people. I deleted the video. Too late, it had already been screen recorded and reposted by dozens of people. But I deleted my account, made all my social media private, tried to disappear online. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. I started to relax. Maybe they'd moved on. Maybe I'd overreacted. Then I came home from school and found my car's tires slashed. All 4 of them. And a note on the windshield. "Stay quiet." My parents called the police again. They said they'd increase patrols in our neighborhood, but there wasn't much they could do without evidence of who did it. 3 days later, someone threw a brick through our living room window at 2 in the morning. No note this time. Just the message. "We can get to you." My parents were terrified. I was terrified. We installed security cameras, changed our routines. My dad started sleeping with a baseball bat next to the bed. I stopped going to that McDonald's, stopped using OfferUp entirely, stopped posting on social media, but it didn't stop. A week later, someone followed me home from school. A black SUV, staying 3 cars back, but definitely following. I drove past my house, went to the police station instead. The SUV turned off before I got there. The police finally got serious. They connected Marcus Webb to a larger theft ring operating in the Portland area. Turns out he wasn't just scamming individual people, his crew was stealing phones, laptops, tablets, fencing them through online marketplaces. They'd scammed dozens of people out of thousands of dollars worth of electronics. and I'd put their operation at risk by posting that video. The police arrested Marcus Webb and 3 other members of his crew 2 weeks later. They found a storage unit full of stolen electronics, hundreds of devices. The detective told me I'd actually helped break up a significant theft ring. But he also said, "These guys have connections. They might be in jail, but they know people. You should be careful for a while." That was 4 months ago. The harassment stopped after the arrests. No more slashed tires, no more bricks through windows, no more cars following me. But I still check over my shoulder constantly. I still park in different places. I still won't sell anything online because I learned something important. Sometimes winning isn't worth the cost. I got my $400 back. Police recovered my original phone from the storage unit. Marcus Webb got convicted. Justice was served, but my sense of safety? That didn't come back. My mom asked me recently if I regretted posting that video. If I'd do it differently knowing what happened. Honestly, I don't know. Part of me thinks I did the right thing. Marcus and his crew are off the streets. They're not scamming people anymore. The dozens of people who commented on my video saying, "This guy scammed me too," got some validation. Maybe even some closure. But another part of me thinks about those 2 weeks of fear. Coming home to slashed tires. Hearing glass shatter at 2 a.m. Watching my parents install security cameras and door reinforcements because their kid tried to be a hero on TikTok. If I could go back, I think I'd still call him out. But I'd go straight to the police instead of posting online. I'd let them handle it quietly instead of making it public. Because revenge feels good until someone throws a brick through your window. Then it just feels scary. I still have that broken phone Marcus gave me. It's in a drawer in my desk. I keep it as a reminder not of the scam, but of what happened when I tried to be smarter than criminals. They don't play fair. They don't follow rules. And they don't forget. Last week, I got a message on Instagram from an account with no profile picture and no posts. Just 3 words. "We remember you." I blocked the account, changed my passwords, told my parents, filed another police report, but I know the truth. Marcus Webb is in prison, but his crew had more than 4 people. The police only caught some of them. The rest are still out there, still scamming people, still stealing phones, and still remembering the kid who tried to expose them. So yeah. I thought I was smart. Thought I could outsmart a scammer, catch him on video, get revenge, be the hero. Turns out, the smartest thing I could have done was just lose the $400 and move on with my life. Some battles aren't worth winning. My name is Brian Kepler. I'm 36 years old, and I'm a professional photographer. Weddings, portraits, commercial work. I've been shooting for 15 years. And I collect vintage cameras, not as investments, just as appreciation for the craft. There's something beautiful about old film cameras. The mechanical precision, the weight of them. Last summer, I was scrolling through an estate sale listing site when I found something special. A 1,960 seconds Leica M3 rangefinder camera with a 50mm Summicron lens. The listing said it belonged to a deceased photographer. His son was selling off the equipment. Price was reasonable, $800, for a camera worth at least $1,500 in good condition. I called the number in the listing. A man answered, voice rough. Older. Yeah? Yay. Hi. I'm calling about the Leica M3. Is it still available? It's available. You know cameras? I'm a photographer. I collect vintage equipment. Good. I want it to go to someone who'll appreciate it. My father was a photographer. This was his favorite camera. His voice caught slightly. He passed 3 months ago. Heart attack. I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah. Well, you want to see it? We arranged to meet at his house the next day, Saturday afternoon. The address was in Beaverton, a suburb of Portland. Normal residential neighborhood. Nothing unusual. When I arrived, a man in his early 50s answered the door. Balding, thick glasses, wearing a cardigan despite the summer heat. You must be Brian. I'm Thomas. Thomas Reinhardt. Come in. The house was dated furniture from the 70s, floral wallpaper, that specific smell of old houses. But it was clean, organized. Thomas led me to a study where camera equipment was laid out on a desk. The Leica, several lenses, light meters, film canisters, developing trays. This was my father's workspace, Thomas said. He spent 40 years as a freelance photographer. Mostly commercial work, some art photography. He was good at it. I picked up the Leica. It was beautiful, clean glass, smooth mechanics, clearly well maintained. Did he shoot film until the end? Yeah. He never trusted digital. Said it didn't have the same soul. Thomas smiled weakly. Stubborn old man. As we talked, I noticed photos on the wall. Black and white prints. Clearly his father's work. Landscapes, portraits, architecture. All technically excellent good composition. Perfect exposure. Real craftsmanship. These are wonderful, I said. Your father had a real eye. He did. Thomas hesitated. There's actually film still in the camera. 3 shots left on the roll. I haven't developed it. I thought about it, but... He trailed off. If you buy the camera, maybe you could develop it? See what his last photos were? I'd like to know, but I can't bring myself to do it. Something about the request felt odd, but I understood. Grief makes people do strange things. Sure, I have a darkroom. I can develop it for you. We settled on $800. I paid cash, carefully packed the camera, and left with the rest of the equipment Thomas wanted to sell. At home, I unloaded the camera from my car and brought it to my basement darkroom. I'd develop the film that evening, see what the old photographer's last shots had been. Probably family photos, maybe shots around his neighborhood. A nice way to honor his work. I removed the film canister in the dark bag, loaded it onto the developing reel, and started the chemical process. Developer, stop bath, fixer, wash. Standard black and white development. When the film was fixed, I turned on the lights to examine the negatives. There were 36 exposures on the roll, not 3. Thomas had been wrong or lied. I hung the negatives to dry, went upstairs to make dinner, came back an hour later to make contact prints. I laid the negative strips on photo paper, exposed them under the enlarger, developed the prints, and that's when I saw them. The first 20 photos were normal. Landscapes from what looked like the Oregon coast. A few shots of Thomas as a younger man. Some still life compositions. Fruit bowls, flowers, typical practice shots. Then the photos changed. Photo 21 showed a woman, mid-30s, sitting in a chair. She wasn't posing. She was tied to the chair. Rope around her wrists and ankles, duct tape over her mouth. She was looking at the camera with absolute terror in her eyes. Photo 22 was closer. Same woman, same chair. You could see she'd been crying. Mascara streaks down her face. Photo 23 showed her from a different angle. You could see the room she was in concrete walls, exposed pipes. A bare bulb hanging from the ceiling. A basement. I stood there in my darkroom, staring at the wet prints drying on the line, trying to process what I was seeing. These weren't art photos. These weren't staged. This was documentation of a crime. I kept developing prints. Photos 24 through 30 showed different women. 3 different women total. All bound, all terrified, all photographed in the same basement with the same methodical documentary style. The last 6 photos were the worst. They showed evidence being disposed of. Plastic sheeting, a shovel, disturbed earth in what looked like a forest. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my living room with the prints spread on my coffee table, trying to convince myself there was some explanation. Maybe they were from a movie set. Maybe it was elaborate art photography with models. Maybe I was misinterpreting what I saw, but I wasn't. I knew what I was looking at. The next morning, I called the police non-emergency line. Explained the situation, bought a camera at an estate sale, found disturbing photos on the film inside. They connected me to a detective, and he came to my house within 2 hours. Detective Morris was in his 40s, professional, cautious. I showed him the prints. His expression didn't change as he looked through them, but I saw his jaw tighten. "These women," he said. "Do you recognize any of them?" "No." "And the person who sold you this camera?" "What was his name?" "Thomas Reinhardt. He said it was his father's camera. His father died 3 months ago." Morris made a phone call, spoke quietly into his phone, then hung up. "Mr. Kepler, I need you to give me all the negatives, all the prints, and the camera. This is now evidence in a criminal investigation." "Investigation into what?" He hesitated. 3 women went missing in the Portland area between 2003 and 2007. All in their 30s, all disappeared without a trace. No bodies found, no suspects identified. Cases went cold. "These photos," he gestured to the prints. "These might be those women." My blood went cold. "You think the photographer, Thomas's father, was the one who killed them?" "I think we need to identify the women in these photos and determine when these pictures were taken." "You said the photographer died 3 months ago?" "That's what Thomas told me." "And what was the father's name?" "Thomas didn't say, just called him his father." Morris took everything: camera, negatives, prints, equipment, even the receipt from the sale. He told me I'd be contacted for an official statement. As he was leaving, he said something that made my stomach turn. "Mr. Kepler, did it seem like Thomas wanted you to develop that film? Like he was asking you to find these photos?" "He said he couldn't bring himself to do it. That he wanted to know what his father's last shots were, but he knew there was film in the camera. He specifically mentioned it." "Yeah, why?" Morris looked grim. "Because if his father was a serial killer, and Thomas knew, and he sold you the camera with that film still inside, that's not grief. That's something else." The investigation moved fast after that. Police identified the women in the photos. Jennifer Hartley disappeared 2003. Alicia Brennan disappeared 2005. Nicole Chen disappeared 2007. All 3 had been reported missing. All 3 cases had gone cold with no leads. The photographer's name was Robert Reinhardt, deceased 3 months prior, exactly as Thomas had said. Police searched his property, the house where I'd met Thomas. In the basement, they found the room from the photos. Same concrete walls, same exposed pipes, same bare bulb. They found evidence. Traces of blood in the concrete, scratches on the walls where victims had struggled, chemical residue from cleaning attempts, and in the backyard, buried 4 feet down, they found remains. 3 bodies, 3 women, exactly where the last photos suggested they'd been buried. But here's the thing that haunted the investigation and haunts me still. The photos were time-stamped on the film's edge. Standard film processing includes metadata, date codes, frame numbers. These photos were taken in 2007, 17 years ago. The roll had been sitting in that camera for nearly 2 decades. Thomas Reinhardt had lived in that house with his father for all those years, had walked past that camera, probably every day, had known what was on that film. And when his father died, he didn't destroy the camera, didn't burn the film, didn't bury it or throw it away. He sold it to me, and specifically asked me to develop the film. Detective Morris called me a week later. "We found Thomas. He's not answering questions without a lawyer, but we've got enough to charge him." "Charge him with what?" "He didn't kill those women." "His father did." "No, but he knew about it. For at least 17 years, he knew. He lived in a house where 3 women were murdered and buried. He never reported it. That's accessory after the fact. Obstruction of justice, potential conspiracy charges. We're still investigating what role he played. Why would he sell me the camera? Why would he want me to find those photos?" Morris was quiet for a long moment. "Honestly, I think he wanted his father caught, even posthumously. I think he lived with this secret for 17 years, and when his father died, he finally saw a way to tell the truth without directly betraying him. He gave you the camera, asked you to develop the film, knowing you'd find the evidence and contact police. Thomas Reinhardt was convicted of being an accessory after the fact and obstruction of justice. He got 8 years in prison. During sentencing, he finally spoke. He admitted he'd known about the murders since 2007, when he was 21 years old. He'd found the bodies in the backyard while planting a tree. His father had threatened him, said if he told anyone, he'd kill him too. So Thomas stayed silent. For 17 years, he lived in that house. Ate dinner with a serial killer. Slept under the same roof as a man who'd murdered 3 women, and said nothing. When his father died, Thomas said he felt relief and horror in equal measure. Relief that the killing was over. Horror that he'd been complicit in hiding it. He sold the camera to me because he couldn't bring himself to go to police directly, but he needed someone to know. Needed those women's families to have answers. The families of Jennifer Hartley, Alicia Brennan, and Nicole Chen finally got closure. They buried their daughters, their sisters, their mothers. They had answers to 17 years of questions, but they also had to live with the knowledge that someone knew where their loved ones were all along. That Thomas Reinhardt could have ended their suffering 17 years earlier and chose not to. I still have that Leica M3 camera. Police returned it after the trial concluded it's not evidence anymore, just a camera. They kept the negatives and prints, obviously. But they gave me back the camera. I've never loaded film into it. It sits on a shelf in my office, a beautiful piece of precision engineering that was used to document atrocities. I can't bring myself to sell it. Who would want it? But I can't bring myself to throw it away either. It's part of history now. Dark history, but history. Sometimes I pick it up, feel the weight of it, look through the viewfinder, and I think about Robert Reinhardt looking through that same viewfinder at women who were about to die. I think about him documenting his crimes with the same technical precision he used for landscape photography. I think about Thomas, too. What it must have been like to live with that knowledge. To walk through his house knowing what was buried in the backyard. To make small talk with his father over breakfast, knowing what he'd done. Was he a coward for staying silent? Or a victim himself, terrorized into compliance by a man who'd proven he was capable of murder? I don't know. The court said he was complicit. The families of the victims said he was a monster for not speaking up. But part of me wonders if I'd been 21 years old and discovered my father was a serial killer. Would I have had the courage to report him? I still collect vintage cameras. But now, when I buy them at estate sales, I always check if there's film inside. And if there is, I develop it in my darkroom with my door locked, my phone nearby, ready to call police. Because you never know what you'll find. You never know what secrets people have been carrying, what evidence they've been hiding in plain sight. Those 3 women, Jennifer, Alicia, Nicole, they deserved better. They deserved to be found 17 years ago. They deserved a witness who had the courage to speak up. But at least they were found. At least their families have closure. And at least Robert Reinhardt's crimes are known. Even if he never faced justice himself. Sometimes I wonder how many other estate sales have cameras with undeveloped film. How many other basements have concrete rooms where terrible things happened? How many other sons and daughters are living with secrets about their parents that they're too afraid to tell? And I wonder if I should have asked more questions before I bought that camera. If I should have noticed that Thomas seemed too eager to have me develop the film. If I should have seen something wrong in his eyes, but I didn't. I just saw a beautiful camera and a reasonable price and a son grieving his father. I didn't see the 17 years of silence. I didn't see the 3 women buried in the backyard. I didn't see the horror hiding behind an estate sale listing. That Leica M3 still sits on my shelf. Sometimes I think I should donate it to a museum. Put it behind glass with a placard explaining its history. Let it serve as a reminder that objects can carry darkness. But I haven't. I keep it close. As my own reminder that every camera tells a story, and not all stories should be left in the dark. My name is Alicia Morrison. I'm 29 years old, and I'm 7 months pregnant with my first child, a daughter. We're naming her Sophie. Everything about this pregnancy has been exciting and terrifying in equal measure. But nothing prepared me for what happened when I went to buy nursery furniture. My husband Derek and I had been slowly putting together Sophie's nursery. We'd painted the room a soft yellow, installed shelves, picked out a rocking chair, but we were missing the big pieces: crib, changing table, dresser. New furniture was expensive, way out of our budget, so I'd been watching Facebook Marketplace for weeks. That's when I found the perfect listing. Complete nursery set, crib, changing table, dresser, white, $400. The photos showed beautiful furniture, clearly high-end, in excellent condition. The listing description said, used for less than a year, no longer needed, smoke-free, pet-free home, everything included, even the mobile and sheets. The seller's name was Margaret Holloway. Her profile was sparse, just a few photos of her at what looked like charity events. Middle-aged woman with kind eyes. I messaged her immediately. She responded within an hour. Hi, Alicia. Yes, it's still available. When are you due? I told her September. She responded, how wonderful. I'd love for this furniture to go to someone who'll appreciate it. When can you come see it? We arranged for me to visit the next day, Saturday morning. The address was in Gresham, about 20 minutes from our apartment in Portland. Derek had to work that Saturday, so I went alone. Margaret had seemed so friendly in her messages. And it was a residential neighborhood. I didn't think twice about it. The house was a small craftsman bungalow with a well-maintained yard. Everything looked normal, peaceful. I knocked on the door, and Margaret answered almost immediately. She was exactly like her photos, maybe 55, graying hair pulled back in a bun, wearing a cardigan and slacks. Her smile was warm, genuine. Alicia, come in. Come in. Look at you. You're glowing. I followed her inside. The house was immaculate. Hardwood floors, antique furniture, family photos on every surface. It felt like visiting someone's grandmother. The nursery's upstairs, she said. Can you manage the stairs? I should have thought about that. I'm fine, I said. 7 months pregnant was manageable. Those stairs were getting harder. She led me up a narrow staircase to the second floor. 3 doors, a bathroom, what looked like a master bedroom. And at the end of the hall, a closed door. Here we are, Margaret said, opening the door. The nursery was perfect. Almost too perfect. The walls were painted a soft lavender. The crib, changing table, and dresser were arranged exactly as I'd imagined for Sophie's room. There was a mobile hanging above the crib, little elephants and stars, slowly rotating. The changing table had a fresh pad on it, covered with a soft blanket. Shelves held neatly organized supplies, diapers, wipes, baby powder, everything you'd need. But something felt wrong. This is beautiful, I said carefully. You said you used it for less than a year? Yes. My granddaughter. Margaret's smile faltered slightly. She was only with us for a short time. I'm so sorry. Did something happen? She's with family now. Different circumstances. She walked to the crib, ran her hand along the railing. But I wanted this room to feel complete for as long as we had her. Every detail perfect. I looked around more carefully. The room didn't just look ready for a baby, it looked actively used. There were books on the shelves, baby toys in a basket, a half-empty bottle of lotion on the dresser, like someone had just stepped out. When did your granddaughter leave? I asked. Margaret didn't answer for a moment. Time moves strangely when you miss someone. I felt increasingly uncomfortable. The room was too complete, too preserved. I pulled out my phone, pretending to check a message, actually trying to text Derek. No signal, not unusual in older houses with thick walls. The furniture is lovely, I said, but I need to measure my nursery first. Make sure everything fits. Could I take some measurements here? Of course. Margaret handed me a measuring tape from the changing table drawer. How convenient, I thought. How prepared. As I measured the crib, I noticed something. A smell. Very faint. Baby powder and something else. Something sweet and slightly off. Like milk that's just starting to turn. Margaret, I said slowly. Is someone still using this room? Her expression changed. What do you mean? The supplies, the half-used products, the smell. This room doesn't feel like it's been empty for months. It feels like someone's living here. She walked to the doorway and stood there, blocking the exit. Not aggressively, just positioned. My granddaughter visits sometimes. I keep the room ready for her. You said she was with family, different circumstances. Yes, so she visits you? Her grandmother? She visits the room. That phrase, visits the room, not visits me, made my skin crawl. I walked toward the doorway. I appreciate you showing me this, but I think I'm going to pass. The measurements won't work for our space. Margaret didn't move. You haven't even measured the changing table. That's okay, I really need to go. You're having a girl. It wasn't a question. Yes. What are you naming her? Something in her tone made me not want to answer, but I did anyway. Sophie. Margaret smiled. That's a beautiful name. My granddaughter's name is Emma. She's 2 years old. Perfect age. Smart, sweet, curious. Do you want to see pictures? I didn't want to see pictures. I wanted to leave. But Margaret was pulling out her phone, scrolling through photos. She turned the screen toward me. The photos showed a toddler in this room. This exact room. Recent photos, the little girl was wearing summer clothes. Current styles. She was playing with the toys I'd just seen in the basket, sitting in the same rocking chair against the wall. She's beautiful, I said. But I really need to go, Margaret. She comes to visit every few weeks. Her mother brings her. My daughter. Margaret's voice was flat now. Empty. Except my daughter doesn't bring her anymore. She says it's not healthy. She says I need to let go of the room. Let go? Emma doesn't live here. She never did. My daughter and her family live in Seattle. But I made this room for when they visited. I wanted everything perfect. And then they stopped visiting. Said it was too much. Said seeing a nursery made them uncomfortable when Emma was getting older. I understood now. This wasn't a grandmother selling furniture she no longer needed. This was a woman clinging to a room she'd created for a grandchild who barely visited, a room she kept perfectly maintained, pretending it was still in use. Margaret, I need to leave now. You could bring Sophie to visit. After she's born. I'd love to see her in this room. No, I'm leaving. I moved toward the doorway. She stepped aside, but as I passed, she grabbed my wrist. Not hard, but firm enough to stop me. Please, she said. Just consider the furniture. It's perfect for a little girl. Everything she needs is here. I pulled my wrist free. Let me go. She did. I walked quickly to the stairs, down to the first floor, toward the front door. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might be bad for the baby. I grabbed the doorknob. Alicia, Margaret called from the top of the stairs. You're going to need furniture. You can't afford new. You'll be back. I left. Got to my car, locked the doors, sat there shaking for a full minute before I could drive. When I looked back at the house, Margaret was standing in the upstairs window. The nursery window, just watching. I drove straight home and told Derek everything. He was horrified. We're blocking her on Facebook. Changing your privacy settings. She doesn't get to know anything else about Sophie or where we live. But that night, as we were getting ready for bed, I got a Facebook message from Margaret Holloway. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable. I just miss having a baby in the house. Emma's growing up so fast, and my daughter barely lets me see her anymore. That nursery took so much work to make perfect. I'd hate to see it go to waste. If you change your mind, the offer still stands. Sophie would love it there. I blocked her, reported her messages, set all my social media to private. 2 days later, another message came through. From a different account, different name, but unmistakably the same person. Same writing style. Same photos of the nursery. Alicia, I know you blocked me, but I found your registry online. I see you still need a crib. The offer is still available. $400 for everything. You know where to find me. She'd found my baby registry, which meant she knew my full name, my due date, my address, everything was on that registry. Derek called the police. They took a report, said they'd do a wellness check on Margaret. But there wasn't much they could do. She hadn't threatened me. She'd just been persistent, odd, but not criminal. The officer did mention something interesting, though. We've gotten calls about this address before. Other women buying baby furniture said the seller made them uncomfortable. Nothing actionable, just strange behavior. So I wasn't the first. Margaret had a pattern of luring pregnant women to her house, showing them the nursery, making them uncomfortable with her intensity. Why? What did she want? I called Margaret's daughter. Found her on Facebook through family connections. Sent a message explaining what happened. She responded within an hour. I'm so sorry. My mother has been struggling since Emma was born. She became obsessed with being a grandmother. Built that nursery without asking us. Kept buying things. Kept insisting we visit. It got so intense we had to set boundaries. We only visit once every few months now, and never at her house. I didn't know she was inviting strangers over. That's concerning. She promised to talk to her mother, get her help, but she also said something that chilled me. My mom isn't dangerous, but she's fixated. And when she fixates, she doesn't let go easily. If she's attached to the idea of Sophie, you might want to be careful. That was 2 months ago. I'm 9 months pregnant now, due any day. We bought nursery furniture from IKEA. Cheap, plain, nothing special. But it's ours, and it came without the weight of someone else's obsession. Margaret hasn't contacted me again. I check though. New accounts, new messages, new ways she might reach out. I've warned all our friends and family not to accept friend requests from anyone they don't know. I've made our baby announcement plans private. No public posts, no photos shared widely, because I keep thinking about that nursery. How perfect it was. How every detail was considered. How much love and longing had gone into creating that space. And I think about Margaret, alone in that house, keeping the room ready, waiting for a granddaughter who barely visits, or waiting for someone else's baby to fill the void. Sophie's nursery is ready now. Yellow walls, simple furniture, a handful of stuffed animals. It doesn't look like a magazine spread. It's not perfect, but it's ours. Just ours. No one else's dreams or obsessions attached to it. Sometimes late at night, I look at Sophie's crib and think about Margaret's crib. The one that's still set up, still waiting, mobile still slowly turning above it. I wonder if she's put up new listings, if she's invited other pregnant women over, if she's shown them the perfect nursery and offered them a deal too good to pass up. I wonder what she really wanted from me. Was it just conversation, connection, or was it something else? Something about having a baby in that room, even if it wasn't hers. Derek tells me I'm overthinking it. Says Margaret was just lonely, socially awkward, too intense but ultimately harmless. And maybe he's right, but I also think about how she grabbed my wrist, how she stood in the doorway, how she found my baby registry and tracked down my information. That's not harmless. That's obsessive. I gave birth to Sophie 3 days ago. She's perfect, healthy, beautiful, more than I ever could have imagined. We posted one photo. Privacy settings locked tight. Only to close friends and family. Yesterday, a package arrived at our apartment. No return address. Inside was a baby gift. A hand-knitted blanket, lavender and white, incredibly soft. There was a card. Congratulations on Sophie's arrival. I hope she loves her nursery as much as Emma loved hers. A friend. I threw the blanket away. I filed another police report. They said they'd follow up. But I know Margaret is still out there, still maintaining that perfect nursery, still posting listings for furniture she doesn't really want to sell, still inviting pregnant women over to see what she's created, still waiting. And now she knows Sophie is here. Derek installed extra locks on our doors. We're planning to move in 6 months. We don't use our last name on anything public anymore, because somewhere in Gresham, in a small craftsman bungalow, there's a nursery waiting, and I'm terrified that Margaret thinks it's waiting for Sophie. My name is Jordan Hayes. I'm 20 years old, and I'm a junior at Oregon State University in Corvallis. I live off campus with 2 roommates in a cheap apartment complex near campus. Money's always tight when you're a college student, so I'm constantly buying and selling used textbooks to save money. It's worked out fine for 3 years, until last semester, when I sold a textbook to someone who decided buying my book meant buying access to my entire life. It started in late August, right before fall semester. I'd taken organic chemistry the previous spring and wanted to sell my textbook, one of those massive, expensive books that cost $200 new. I listed it on the university's Facebook marketplace group for $80. Within hours, I got a message from someone named Alex Chen. The profile picture showed an Asian student, early 20s, wearing OSU gear. Looked like a typical college student. The message was straightforward. Hi, I need this for Chem. 331. Can we meet today? We arranged to meet at the Memorial Union, the student center. Always crowded, totally safe. I brought the textbook, he brought cash. Easy transaction. Except when Alex showed up, something felt immediately off. He looked like his photo, but younger somehow. Nervous. He examined the textbook carefully, too carefully, like he was trying to stretch out the interaction. He asked questions about the class, about the professor, about what chapters were most important. Normal questions. But the way he asked them felt wrong. Too intense. Too interested. You're in Anderson Hall, right? He asked. I've seen you around. I lived in an off-campus apartment, not a dorm. No, I don't live in Anderson. Oh, I thought I saw you there. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. He handed me $80. Thanks for the book. He left. I walked back to my apartment feeling weird about the interaction, but couldn't pinpoint why. Just a strange guy, I figured. I'd probably never see him again. 2 days later, I saw him in the library. Not unusual, lots of students use the library. But he was sitting 3 tables away, and when I looked up, he was staring at me. When our eyes met, he quickly looked away, back to his laptop. Coincidence, I told myself. Campus has 15,000 students. You run into people. The next day, I saw him at the campus gym. I was on the treadmill. He was across the room using the weight machines. Again, he was watching me. When I made eye contact, he looked away. That's when I started paying attention. And once I started paying attention, I saw him everywhere. At the coffee shop I went to every morning. In the building where most of my classes were. Walking past my apartment complex, which was off campus. Not somewhere you just randomly walk unless you live there. I told my roommate Sophie about it. There's this guy who bought a textbook from me. I keep seeing him everywhere. Campus is small, she said. Everyone sees everyone. No, it's different. He's watching me. Did he say anything threatening? No. He just watches. A week into the semester, I was walking home from my evening class around 8 p.m. I took my usual route through campus, down Monroe Street, left on 9th. As I was crossing the street, I noticed someone about half a block behind me. Male, wearing a hoodie, hands in pockets. I walked faster. He maintained the same distance. I turned down my street. He turned down my street. My apartment was the 3rd building on the right. I reached it, used my key card to enter the building, looked back. He'd stopped on the sidewalk, just standing there, hood up, face in shadow, watching. I ran upstairs, locked myself in my apartment, looked out the window. He was still there, standing on the sidewalk, looking up at the building. He stood there for 10 minutes before finally walking away. I called campus police. They took a report, said they'd increase patrols in the area. But without a direct threat, there wasn't much they could do. Keep documenting instances where you see him. If he approaches you or says anything threatening, call immediately. The next day, I was in the dining hall having lunch with friends. Alex walked in, got food, and sat at a table with a clear view of where I was sitting. He didn't try to hide that he was watching, just sat there, eating, staring. My friend Marcus noticed. "That guy's staring at you." "I know. He's been following me." "Want me to say something to him?" "No, I don't want to escalate," but it was already escalating. That night, I got a Facebook friend request from Alex Chen. I declined it. 5 minutes later, another request from a different account, different name, but the same profile picture. I declined and blocked that one too. Then I got an Instagram follow request. Same person, different account. Blocked. Twitter, blocked. He was trying every platform, every avenue to connect with me. I went to campus police again. Showed them the pattern, the following, the watching, the multiple social media requests. They talked to him, gave him a formal warning about harassment, told him to stay away from me. It stopped for 3 days. No sightings, no social media requests, nothing. Then it got worse. I came home from class to find a package outside my apartment door. No return address. Just my name, written in pen, on brown paper. I brought it inside carefully, opened it. Inside was a photograph of me, taken from a distance, zoomed in. I was walking across campus, backpack over my shoulder, completely unaware I was being photographed. On the back, written in the same handwriting, I wanted to remember the day we met. I called the police. Real police this time, not campus security. They took the package, took my statement, said they'd investigate. They went to Alex's dorm because it turned out he did live in Anderson Hall, where he'd asked if I lived. He wasn't there. His roommate said he'd barely seen him, that Alex kept weird hours and was kind of intense. The police found his room unlocked. Inside, they found more photos, dozens of them. Me walking to class, me at the coffee shop, me at the gym, me entering and leaving my apartment building, all taken from a distance with a zoom lens, like surveillance photos. They also found my class schedule, printed out. My work schedule, I worked part-time at a campus bookstore. A list of my friends' names with their social media profiles. A map of campus with my usual routes marked in red. Alex Chen wasn't even enrolled in organic chemistry. He'd bought my textbook just to have an excuse to meet me, to see where I'd be, to start the surveillance. They issued an arrest warrant. Found him 2 days later in the library, taking more photos. He was charged with stalking, harassment, unlawful surveillance. The university expelled him pending the criminal case. At his arraignment, I saw him for the first time since all this started. He looked right at me and smiled. Not a threatening smile, just a normal, friendly smile. Like he was happy to see me. Like we were friends. That's what terrified me most. To him, this was a relationship. Buying a textbook, watching me for weeks, following me home, photographing me without consent in his mind. These were normal things. Connection, interest, affection. The case is still ongoing. Alex has a court-appointed lawyer who's arguing he has mental health issues, that he didn't understand his behavior was wrong. The prosecution is pushing for jail time and a permanent restraining order. I had to move apartments. Couldn't stay in that building knowing he'd watched me enter and exit for weeks, knowing he knew exactly where I lived. My new place is in a different part of town, and I don't post about it anywhere online. My social media is completely private now. I vary my routes to class. I don't go anywhere alone after dark. But the thing is, I still see him, even though he's not allowed within 500 feet of me, even though he's wearing an ankle monitor, Even though campus police have his photo and are watching for him, I still see him. Or I think I do. Someone in a hoodie across the street. Someone with a camera on campus. Someone watching from a distance. My brain can't tell anymore if it's really him or just my paranoia. Sophie, my roommate, keeps telling me I need therapy. Process the trauma. Stop looking over my shoulder constantly. And she's right. I probably do. But how do you stop looking over your shoulder when someone spent weeks watching you without you knowing? When they collected photos and schedules and routes, building a complete profile of your life? How do you ever feel safe again when someone can buy something from you for $80 and decide that transaction gives them ownership of you? I don't sell textbooks anymore. I don't sell anything online. I either keep my old books or donate them to the library. Because I learned that every transaction is a risk. Every interaction is a potential doorway for someone to enter your life uninvited. Alex Chen bought more than a textbook. He bought my face, my routine, my sense of safety. And I can't buy those back. The trial is scheduled for next month. The prosecutor says I'll need to testify. Describe the pattern of harassment. Explain how it affected my life. I'm dreading it. Not because I'm afraid of testifying, because I'll have to be in the same room as him again, and he'll watch me the whole time. Just like he's been watching since the day I sold him that textbook. Last week, I got a letter. Forwarded through my lawyer, so he couldn't have my new address. Handwritten, 2 pages. From Alex. It said he was sorry. That he didn't mean to scare me. That he just wanted to get to know me better, and didn't know how. That he thought we had a connection from the moment we met at the Memorial Union. It said he hopes we can be friends someday. I showed the letter to my lawyer. He said it's evidence of continued obsession, will help the case. But what it told me was worse than that. It told me that even now, even after being arrested, even after everything, Alex still thinks this is a relationship. Still thinks there's a someday where we're friends. Still thinks I felt that connection too. And that's the scariest part, because you can arrest someone. You can get restraining orders and ankle monitors and expulsion from the university, but you can't stop them from believing in something that never existed. You can't stop them from watching, even when they're not physically there. You can't stop them from waiting for someday. I'm graduating next year, moving to a different city, starting fresh somewhere Alex Chen doesn't know about. Somewhere I didn't sell textbooks, or establish routines, or become someone's obsession for $80. But sometimes I wonder how many other Jordan Hayes are out there right now. Meeting someone at the Memorial Union, selling a textbook, making a simple transaction, not knowing that the person walking away with their book is also walking away with plans. Plans to watch, plans to follow, plans to collect photos and schedules and routes, plans for someday. I check every social media platform daily for new accounts with his photo. I reverse image search pictures of myself to see if they're posted anywhere. I document every person who seems to watch me too long on campus, because Alex Chen taught me something important. Anyone can become obsessed with you, for any reason, or no reason at all. All it takes is one transaction, one moment of connection that they interpret differently than you do. One textbook sold to the wrong person, and then you spend the rest of your time looking over your shoulder, wondering if today is the someday they've been waiting for. My name is Paul Hendricks. I'm 42 years old, and I've been investing in real estate for 12 years. I buy foreclosures, fix them up, rent, or resell them. It's not glamorous work, but it's profitable if you know what you're doing. I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I'd seen everything that could go wrong with a property purchase. I was wrong. This happened 6 months ago in rural Washington, about 90 miles outside Seattle. I'd been watching the foreclosure auction listings, and a property caught my eye. 3-bedroom house on 5 acres. Foreclosed by the bank, after the owners stopped making payments. The listing photos showed a dated but structurally sound house. 70s ranch style, detached garage, surrounded by forest. The starting bid was $75,000. For a house on 5 acres, that was suspiciously low. usually means major problems. Foundation issues, mold, environmental contamination. But the bank's disclosure said, property sold as is previous owners uncooperative with inspection access. Uncooperative. That word should have been my first warning. I attended the online auction, bid conservatively, and won at $82,000. The bank processed the paperwork fast. Too fast, I realized later. They wanted this property gone. Within 2 weeks, I had the deed and keys. The house was legally mine. I drove out on a Saturday morning to assess the property. The address was on a rural route, no neighbors visible, just forest on all sides. The driveway was a quarter-mile of gravel, rutted and overgrown. As I drove up, I could see the house exactly like the photos. But the photos hadn't captured how isolated it was, how dark the surrounding forest was, how the trees seemed to lean toward the property like they were trying to reclaim it. I parked in the driveway and got out. The house looked occupied. I don't mean it looked lived in, I mean it looked currently occupied. Curtains in the windows, a truck parked beside the garage. Lights on inside, even though it was mid-morning. I checked my paperwork. This was definitely the right address. The foreclosure was final. The previous owners, a family named the Pritchards, had been given 6 months to vacate. That period had ended 3 weeks ago. The bank had confirmed the property was vacant. But someone was here. I walked up to the front door and knocked. No response. Knocked again, louder. Hello? This is Paul Hendricks. I'm the new owner. I need to inspect the property. Movement inside. Someone walking, heavy footsteps. The door opened a crack, chain still attached. A man's face appeared 50s, graying beard, suspicious eyes. What do you want? I'm Paul Hendricks. I bought this property at foreclosure auction. I'm the legal owner. Are you Mr. Pritchard? You bought nothing. Get off my property. Sir, I have the deed. This house was foreclosed. The bank sold it to me. The bank had no right. We're contesting the foreclosure. This is still our home. I dealt with difficult former owners before. Sometimes people refused to accept they'd lost their homes. Usually, you called the sheriff's department, they explained the law, and the former owners reluctantly left. Unpleasant, but straightforward. Mr. Pritchard, I understand this is difficult, but the foreclosure is final. The legal process has concluded. I can give you until tomorrow to gather your belongings, but then you'll need to vacate. His expression hardened. We're not leaving. You can't make us. He closed the door. I heard locks, engaging multiple locks. More than a house should have. I stood there for a moment, processing. Then I called my lawyer. Explained the situation. He said he'd file for immediate eviction assistance, that I could probably get a sheriff's escort within a few days to formally remove the occupants. In the meantime, he said, don't go inside. Don't engage with them. Let law enforcement handle it. I drove back to Seattle, frustrated but not worried. This was a legal formality. The Pritchards would be gone within a week. 3 days later, I got a call from the county sheriff's office. They'd gone to serve the eviction notice. The Pritchards had refused to open the door. When deputies threatened to force entry, Mr. Pritchard had shouted through the door that he had weapons and would defend his property. Standoff. The deputies had backed off, called for a crisis negotiator. By the time she arrived, the Pritchards had boarded up the windows from inside and barricaded the doors. They're entrenched, the deputy told me. We're treating this as a potential hostage situation, even though the only people in the house are the family. We need to resolve this carefully. How long will that take? Could be days, could be longer. These situations are delicate. A week passed. Negotiators tried to talk to the Pritchards through the door, through phone calls, through bullhorns. The family wouldn't engage beyond repeating that they weren't leaving, that the bank had stolen their home, that they had a right to defend it. During one attempt at communication, a woman's voice, Mrs. Pritchard, presumably shouted something that made everyone go quiet. You can't make us leave because we can't leave. Not until we finish. Finish what? The negotiator asked. No response. I was getting updates daily. The situation had escalated from a property dispute to a law enforcement incident. News crews had shown up. My investment property was on the evening news with helicopters overhead and police vehicles surrounding it. On day 9, something changed. The Pritchards stopped responding to negotiation attempts entirely. The house went dark. They'd either cut power themselves or run out of generator fuel. No movement visible through the cracks in the boarded windows. On day 12, SWAT made the decision to breach. I wasn't there, they'd told me to stay away, but I watched the news coverage. They used a battering ram on the front door, went in tactical formation, cleared the house room by room. The Pritchards were gone. Not had left. Gone. As in, the house was completely empty. No people, no furniture, no belongings. The SWAT team searched every room, every closet, the attic, the garage. No one was there, but the doors had been barricaded from inside. The windows boarded from inside. There was no other exit. The house's back door was still locked from the inside too. The Pritchards had vanished from a locked, surrounded house. The investigation that followed was extensive. Police couldn't understand how a family of 4 Mr. and Mrs. Pritchard and their 2 adult children had disappeared from a house that had been under constant surveillance for 12 days. They brought in tracking dogs. The dogs picked up scent trails that led from the house into the forest, but the trails ended abruptly about 200 yards in. Just stopped, like the family had evaporated. They brought in forensic teams, found evidence of recent habitation, food in the kitchen, clothes in bedrooms, normal household items. But also found something else. In the basement, I was allowed to enter the property after the investigation concluded. A detective escorted me, said I needed to see what they'd found. We went down to the basement, unfinished concrete, old furnace, storage shelves, but in the back corner, they'd found something hidden behind a false wall. A room, maybe 10 by 12 feet. Concrete walls, concrete floor. Drain in the center. Hooks embedded in the ceiling. Chains mounted to the walls. And covering every surface, walls, floor, even parts of the ceiling were scratches. Thousands of them. Desperate, clawed scratches like someone or multiple someones had tried to dig through concrete with their bare hands. The Pritchards built this, the detective said. Probably years ago. We found trace evidence. Blood, hair, tissue. We're running DNA analysis, checking against missing persons databases. What the hell is this? I asked, though I knew. I knew exactly what it was. We think the Pritchards were holding people here. We don't know how many, don't know for how long, but the evidence suggests multiple victims over an extended period. I felt sick. The bank foreclosed on them. That's why they fought so hard to keep the house. Partly, but there's something else. He led me to another corner of the basement. We found this, a hole, roughly 4 feet in diameter, going straight down into the earth. The concrete floor had been broken away in a circle, and below it was a tunnel. Not professionally dug, crude, hand excavated, shored up with scrap wood and metal. This tunnel goes about 50 feet, the detective said. Ends in the forest, hidden entrance covered with brush. That's how they got out. They spent 12 days digging an escape tunnel while we surrounded the house. The whole barricade was a delay tactic. I stared into the hole. 12 days of digging through earth with hand tools while police surrounded the house. While I waited to take possession. While news crews broadcast the standoff. And we'd had no idea they were literally digging their way out beneath us. Where are they now? I asked. Gone. We're searching. But they had a 3-day head start before we breached. They could be anywhere. The investigation consumed the next 2 months. DNA from the basement room matched 4 missing persons from the past 8 years. 4 people who disappeared without trace from rural Washington and Oregon. Hitchhikers, drifters. People without strong family connections who wouldn't be immediately missed. The Pritchards, Lawrence and Rebecca Pritchard, and their adult children, Dennis and Sarah, were charged in absentia with 4 counts of murder, kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment. Warrants were issued. Their photos were everywhere: news, FBI most wanted lists, social media, but they'd vanished completely. The bank offered to take the property back, null the sale. I'd get my $82,000 back, plus expenses. I should have taken the offer. I should have walked away from that cursed property and never looked back. But I'd seen the listing photos. I'd seen what that house could be worth with renovations. And I thought stupidly, arrogantly, that I could rehab it, sell it, still make a profit. The notoriety would fade. A new owner wouldn't care about the history. I was wrong about that too. I hired contractors to fill in the tunnel, seal the basement room, deep clean the entire property. I had the house blessed by 3 different religious leaders covering my bases. I joked, though I wasn't really joking. I renovated the interior, updated the kitchen and bathrooms, painted everything white to make it feel clean and new. It took 4 months. Cost me $40,000 in renovations on top of the purchase price. When I finally listed it for sale at $200,000, a reasonable price for the size and acreage, I thought I'd done it. Thought I'd turned a horror story into a profit. I got one showing. The potential buyers walked through politely, asked standard questions about property taxes and HOA fees. Then they got to the basement. "Is this the room where?" the wife asked. "That's been completely sealed," I said quickly. "New drywall, new paint, structurally sound. But it's still there. The room. Behind the wall. Well, yes, technically. They left. Didn't even finish the tour. I tried for 2 months to sell that house. Dropped the price to $170, then $150, then $130. No offers. Everyone knew the history. You could Google the address and find dozens of news articles about the Pritchard family, the secret room, the tunnel escape, the missing victims. I finally took it off the market. Couldn't sell it, couldn't afford to keep paying property taxes on it, couldn't bring myself to live in it. The house sat empty. My biggest financial loss. A monument to my arrogance in thinking I could flip a foreclosure without consequences. That was 3 months ago. Last week, I drove out to check on the property, something I do monthly, making sure squatters haven't moved in or vandals haven't damaged it. As I pulled up the driveway, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Fresh tire tracks in the gravel. Recent, maybe hours old. I got out of my car carefully, quietly. The house looked exactly as I'd left it locked. Boarded windows removed, but curtains drawn. But as I approached the front door, I heard something. Movement inside. Footsteps. Someone was in the house. I called 911, retreated to my car, waited. Sheriff's deputies arrived within 20 minutes. They entered the house with weapons drawn, cleared every room. Empty. No one was there. But in the basement, they found something new. The false wall I'd had sealed, covered with drywall and paint, it had been torn open from the inside. The concrete room beyond was accessible again, and on the floor of that room, written in chalk, "You can't keep us out. This is still our home." The handwriting matched Lawrence Pritchard's signature from the foreclosure documents. They'd come back. Somehow, despite being wanted fugitives with their photos on every law enforcement database, they'd come back to the house. Broken in, torn open the room they'd used to imprison people, left a message, and escaped again before police arrived. The detective assigned to the case told me something that made me physically ill. "We think they've been coming back regularly. We found evidence of multiple visits, food wrappers, recent dates, and tools. Shovels, pickaxes. They're preparing something. Preparing what? We don't know. But given that they're serial killers who built a torture room in their basement, we're not taking chances. We're setting up surveillance on the property." "Surveillance? You're using my house as bait?" "Mr. Hendricks, these people murdered at least 4 people, possibly more. They escaped custody and haven't been seen in 6 months. If they're attached to this property enough to keep returning, it's our best chance to catch them. That was 2 weeks ago. The house is under 24/7 surveillance now. Cameras hidden in the forest, unmarked vehicles rotating shifts on the access road. Motion sensors throughout the property. I'm not allowed to go near it, too dangerous, they say, but I still get updates. And 3 days ago, the cameras caught something. Late at night, around 2 a.m., a figure emerged from the forest. Not from the road, from deep in the trees. They approached the house, circled it once, then went to the basement door exterior access that I'd had reinforced with new locks. The figure produced keys, my keys, the ones I'd changed out months ago. They'd made copies before the locks were changed. They'd been planning to come back the entire time. The figure unlocked the door and went inside. Within seconds, the tactical team moved in. They surrounded the house, cut off all exits, including the tunnel, and breached. They found Lawrence Pritchard in the basement room, just standing there, waiting. When they arrested him, he smiled and said, "My family will come for me. They always do. This house is ours. It's always been ours. You can foreclose on property, but you can't foreclose on purpose." He wouldn't explain what that meant. He's in custody now, awaiting trial, refusing to cooperate. The FBI is still searching for Rebecca, Dennis, and Sarah Pritchard. I own a house. I can't sell and can't demolish its evidence in an ongoing case. I'm hemorrhaging money on a property that's being used as bait to catch serial killers. And I lie awake at night thinking about what Lawrence said. You can't foreclose on purpose. What purpose? What were they doing in that room? What were they finishing? That they couldn't leave until it was done. The FBI found something else during Lawrence's interrogation. They showed him crime scene photos from the basement room, hoping to get him to confess details. When they showed him the scratches on the walls, the thousands of desperate scratches from people trying to escape, he corrected them. "Those aren't from the people we brought here," he said. "Those are from us. From my family. We scratched those into the concrete over 15 years. Every day, a little more, making marks, counting." "Counting what?" they asked. He smiled. "You'll understand when we finish." They still don't know what he means. They've excavated the entire basement, looking for more bodies, more evidence. They found fragments of human remains, far more than 4 victims. They're now estimating the Pritchards killed at least a dozen people over 20 years. But they also found something else. Under the concrete floor of the secret room, they found old stone. Natural rock formation, dating back thousands of years. And carved into that rock were symbols. Not recent carvings, ancient ones, pre-Columbian. The archaeologists said, the Pritchards didn't just build a torture chamber. They built it over something that was already there. Something old. Something that drew them to that specific location. My lawyer has been helping me navigate the legal nightmare. Insurance won't cover any of this. They have exclusions for criminal acts on the property. The bank won't take the property back. They say I purchased it as is. The county won't condemn it because it's structurally sound. I'm trapped with a property I bought for $82,000 that's now worthless, sitting on land where at least 12 people were murdered, above ancient symbols no one can explain, while 3 fugitive serial killers periodically return because they believe it's still their home. Last night, the surveillance cameras caught something. All 4 of them. Lawrence is still in custody, so this was impossible. But all 4 Pritchards appeared on camera, standing in a circle around the house, just standing there, watching. The tactical team rushed in, found nothing. The cameras show the Pritchards arriving, standing there for 10 minutes, then walking back into the forest. But Lawrence Pritchard is in a maximum security detention center. He couldn't have been there, unless it wasn't him, unless it was something else wearing his face. The FBI shut down the investigation yesterday, said it's been compromised, that someone must be accessing the camera feeds and spoofing footage. They're pulling surveillance, discontinuing the stakeout. They'll keep searching for the other 3 Pritchards, but they're done using my property as bait. which means I'm alone with it now. A house on 5 acres in rural Washington. A basement with a room that smells like death no matter how many times it's cleaned. A property that people return to even when they shouldn't be able to. And symbols carved in stone that are older than anyone can explain. I thought I was buying a foreclosure. A simple investment property. Fix it up, sell it, make a profit. Instead, I bought something that can't be sold. Something that owns itself. Something that the Pritchards used for purposes I still don't understand. You can't foreclose on purpose. I understand now what Lawrence meant. The bank foreclosed on the property. I bought the deed. But the purpose, whatever they were doing in that basement, whatever they were counting, whatever they were finishing, that didn't transfer with the sale. That's still theirs. I'm putting the property back up for auction next month. Disclosing everything, this time the murders, the room, the symbols, the Pritchards coming back. I'll take any offer, any price. I just want to be rid of it. But part of me knows no one will buy it. Part of me knows that house will sit empty on those 5 acres. Waiting for the Pritchards to finish what they started. Waiting for the next person naive enough to think they can own it. Because some properties aren't for sale. Some properties own you. And I'll be making payments on this one for the rest of my life. My name is Kevin Torres. I'm 33 years old, and I work as a graphic designer from home. I've always been careful with online transactions, never meet in person if I can avoid it. Always use payment apps. Keep everything documented. I thought using the postal service for cash transactions was the safest possible option. Turns out, the system itself can be compromised. This happened about 4 months ago. I'd sold a limited edition art print on eBay for $300. The buyer wanted to pay with a postal money order, totally legitimate payment method, safer than personal checks. He sent it, I deposited it, shipped the print. Easy transaction. A week later, I sold a vintage typewriter for $450. Same buyer, same payment method. Postal money order arrived. I deposited it, shipped the item. Third time, I was selling some camera equipment for $600. Same buyer again. Username, CollectorMike87. He messaged, "Great seller, fast shipping. I'll pay the same way." By now, I recognized the pattern. This guy was a repeat customer, always paid promptly, never complained. I figured I'd found one of those rare good buyers who actually appreciated quality service. The postal money order arrived. I went to my local post office to cash it, they know me there. I'm in twice a week picking up supplies for work. I handed the money order to my usual postal worker. A guy named Derek, who I'd chatted with dozens of times. Derek looked at the money order, then at me. His expression changed. "Kevin, where'd you get this?" "eBay sale." "Why? This is a fake." My stomach dropped. "What?" "It's a good fake, but it's fake. Wrong paper stock, wrong watermark. I've seen a few of these lately." He pulled out his phone, took a photo of it. "I need to report this. You're going to have to file a police report." I couldn't believe it. "The last 2 I deposited, were those fake too?" Derek checked his system. "You deposited 2 postal money orders in the past 3 weeks, both around the same amount. If this one's fake, those probably were too. Your bank will reverse those deposits once they discover the fraud." So I'd shipped $1,400 worth of items in exchange for fake money orders. I'd been scammed. But what bothered me more was how Derek had caught this one but missed the previous 2. "Why didn't you notice the first 2 were fake?" "I didn't process those. Must have been Sandy or James." I filed a police report. Contacted the buyer through eBay account deleted. Contacted eBay fraud department. They said they'd investigate, but couldn't guarantee recovery of my items or money. Classic scam. Fake payment. Real items shipped. A week later, I got a call from a postal inspector. Apparently, postal money order fraud is taken seriously by federal investigators. She wanted to meet, ask questions about the scam. We met at a coffee shop near my apartment. Inspector Chen was in her 40s, professional, intense. "Mr. Torres, You're the third person in this area to report this exact scam in the past month. Same fake money orders, same buyer profile patterns. But there's something else. What? The money orders you deposited? They were cashed at your local post office. Specifically, they were processed by the same postal worker, Derek Watkins. I stared at her. Derek? He's the one who caught the fake. He's the one who told me to file a report. Yes. Which is interesting, isn't it? He processes your first two fakes without catching them, then suddenly catches the third one and plays the hero. We think he's part of the scam. That doesn't make sense. Why would he report the third one? Because you're a regular customer. You'd remember him processing the previous ones. If all three went through without him saying anything, and you later discovered they were fake, you'd wonder why he never noticed. By catching the third one, he establishes himself as the diligent employee who spots fraud. Covers his tracks. She explained the scam. Derek and at least one accomplice were running a postal money order fraud ring. The accomplice would buy items using fake money orders. Derek would process them at the post office, marking them as legitimate in the system. By the time the fraud was discovered, usually weeks later, when banks verified the money orders, the items were long gone and impossible to trace. We've been investigating Derek for 2 months, Inspector Chen said. Small-scale fraud. Maybe 20,000 over the past year. But here's what concerns me about your case specifically. Derek knows where you live. What? You pick up packages at that post office regularly. You've probably written your address on forms, mentioned your street in conversation. He has access to all your postal records, and now he knows you filed a report about the fraud. Are you saying I'm in danger? I'm saying you should be careful. We don't know how he'll react to our investigation. Some criminals cut their losses and run. Others get aggressive toward the people who reported them. She gave me her card, told me to call immediately if Derek contacted me or if I noticed anything suspicious. She also told me not to go to that post office anymore, use a different location. Don't give him any opportunity to approach me. I went home paranoid. Started checking my windows, my doors. Installed a video doorbell. Probably overreacting, I told myself. Derek was a postal worker running a fraud scheme, not a violent criminal. 3 days later, packages started arriving at my apartment. Packages I hadn't ordered. They came through USPS, delivered to my door, addressed to me. Inside, random items. A stapler, a coffee mug, a package of printer paper. Each package had a packing slip showing they'd been processed through my old post office. Processed by Derek. He was sending me messages, showing me he had access to my address, could send things to my home anytime he wanted. Showing me he knew I'd reported him. I called Inspector Chen. She took the packages as evidence, said they were escalating the investigation. We're going to arrest him, probably within 48 hours. Until then, stay alert. That night, I heard someone try my door handle. Around 2 a.m., I was lying in bed and heard the distinct sound of someone testing my front door lock. My video doorbell didn't catch anyone. They'd stayed out of camera range, just reached around and tried the handle. I called 911. Police came, found no one. But they did find something. My mailbox had been pried open. Nothing taken. I didn't keep anything valuable in there, but the message was clear. Derek knew where I lived. He had access. He could get to me. Inspector Chen called the next morning. We arrested Derek Watkins at 6 a.m. He's in custody. We also arrested his accomplice. His brother runs an online reselling business. They've been running this scam for 18 months, defrauded at least 40 people out of an estimated $60,000. What about the packages? The mailbox? He's denying it. Says he never came near your apartment. But we found evidence on his phone Google searches for your address. Street view images. Photos of your building taken from his car. He was definitely surveilling you. Derek and his brother were charged with mail fraud, conspiracy, identity theft, stalking. The Postal Service fired Derek immediately. Inspector Chen said I'd likely be called to testify at trial, that that I might recover some of my losses through restitution, but not to hold my breath. Most fraud victims never see their money again. One more thing, she said. When we searched Derek's car, we found a key. Apartment building master key. We don't know how he got it, but it would have opened every unit in your building. My building, where I lived, where Derek had been trying door handles at 2 a.m. I moved the next week. Broke my lease, paid the penalty, didn't care. I couldn't stay in that apartment knowing Derek had a key that could access it, knowing he'd stood outside my door in the middle of the night trying to get in. The building management claimed they never issued master keys to postal workers, had no idea how Derek got one. Probably copied it during a delivery, they speculated. Probably had keys to dozens of buildings on his route. Derek's trial is next month. I'll have to testify, have to sit in a courtroom while he stares at me. This guy who processed my mail for 2 years, who I trusted, who chatted with me about my work and my hobbies and my life. This guy who used that trust to steal from me and then stalk me when I reported him. I don't use postal money orders anymore. Don't use USPS for anything important. I have my mail delivered to a P.O. box at a different post office in a different neighborhood. And I never go inside during business hours when staff might be there. I use package lockers for deliveries. I never give my home address to anyone I don't absolutely trust. Because I learned something important. The system you trust to be secure is run by people. And people can be compromised. The postal worker you chat with twice a week might be running a fraud scheme. The person who smiles and processes your money orders might be setting you up. And when you report them, they might come to your door in the middle of the night with a master key. Inspector Chen told me Derek's not unusual. Postal workers have incredible access addresses, packages, schedules, routines. Most of them are honest, but the ones who aren't can do devastating damage. You were lucky, she said. He only tried your door handle. We've seen cases where disgruntled postal workers actually entered homes. Vandalism, theft, worse. You caught him before it escalated, but it doesn't feel lucky. It feels like I can never trust a system again that I relied on for years. Last week, I got a letter. Forwarded from my old address. No return. Address. Inside was a single page. Handwritten, you cost me my job, my reputation, my freedom. I hope it was worth $1,400. I'll remember you, Kevin. When I get out, I'll remember. It wasn't signed, but I recognized the handwriting. Same writing as the packing slips on the packages Derek had sent to my apartment. Inspector Chen said it's witness intimidation, added it to the charges against him. Said he'll get more time for it. But that doesn't make me feel safer, because Derek Watkins will eventually get out of prison. And he'll still remember my name, my face, my old address. He'll still have access to postal records showing where I've moved, where I work, where I get my mail delivered, and he'll still believe I'm the one who destroyed his life. I thought using the postal service was the safest option for cash transactions. Turns out, nothing's safe when the person you trust is the person stealing from you, and nowhere's safe when they know exactly where you live. My name is Lindsay Harper. I'm 31 years old, and I almost let someone into my home who had no intention of ever leaving. This happened 2 months ago, and it's the reason I'll never buy furniture from a stranger again. It's also the reason I check every window lock in my apartment 3 times before going to bed. I just moved into a new apartment in downtown Chicago, 1 bedroom, exposed brick, high ceilings, the kind of place I'd dreamed about since college. But it was expensive, and furnishing it was breaking my budget. So I turned to Facebook Marketplace, looking for affordable pieces to make the place feel like home. That's when I found the mirror. A floor-length antique mirror with an ornate gold frame, maybe 6 feet tall, Baroque style with carved flowers and angels. The listing said, antique standing mirror, $120. Must see to appreciate. The photos didn't do it justice, but I could tell it was beautiful. Real craftsmanship, probably worth 5 times what they were asking. The seller's name was Victoria Ashford. Her profile showed an elegant woman in her 50s, tasteful home decor photos, book club check-ins. She seemed cultured, refined. I messaged her. "Is this still available? When can I see it?" She responded within minutes. "Yes, I'd love to show it to you. It's quite special. Are you free tomorrow afternoon? I can deliver it personally. It's delicate, and I want to make sure it arrives safely." Personal delivery was unusual, but the mirror was large and fragile. Made sense that she'd want to ensure it didn't break. I gave her my address and time Saturday at 2 p.m. She arrived exactly on time, driving a white SUV with the mirror carefully wrapped in moving blankets. Victoria was exactly like her photos, well-dressed, warm smile, the kind of person who probably volunteered at museums and hosted wine tastings. "Lindsay, so nice to meet you," she said, shaking my hand. "Let me show you this beauty." She unwrapped the mirror in the hallway outside my apartment. It was stunning, even better than the photos. The gold frame gleamed. The mirror surface was pristine, and the carved details were exquisite. "It's perfect," I said. "I'll take it. Wonderful." Now, here's the thing about antique mirrors. They're particular about placement. The light has to be right. The wall has to be the right color. The room has to complement the frame. "Do you mind if I bring it inside to see how it looks in different spots?" It was a reasonable request. I wanted the mirror to look good, and she clearly knew more about antique furniture than I did. "Sure, that's fine." We carried it inside together. It was heavy, solid wood frame. Victoria looked around my apartment with a critical eye. The bedroom would be perfect. Mirrors of this era were designed for bedrooms, where ladies would dress and admire themselves. "May I?" She walked toward my bedroom without waiting for an answer. I followed, suddenly feeling like a guest in my own apartment. She positioned the mirror against the far wall, adjusted it, stepped back to assess. "Yes," she said. "This is perfect. See how the light from the window hits the frame? How it reflects the exposed brick? This mirror was meant for this room." She was right, it looked incredible. Made my simple bedroom feel elegant, sophisticated. "Now," Victoria said, walking around the room, "mirrors like this need context. You'll want to rearrange a bit. Move the bed here, the dresser there. Create symmetry." The Victorians were very particular about mirror placement. They believed mirrors held energy, reflected more than just images. She was opening my closet, looking inside. "You have beautiful clothes. They'll look wonderful in this mirror when you're choosing outfits." Something about her going through my closet felt wrong. "Victoria, thank you for your help, but I can arrange things myself." Of course, of course." She closed the closet, but then walked to my dresser, looking at the items on top. "Do you have roommates?" "No, I live alone." "Boyfriend? Partner?" "No, why?" She smiled. "Just making conversation. It's a lovely space for one person." Very intimate. She was asking too many questions, spending too much time looking around. I pulled out my phone, opened my wallet app. "Let me pay you. 120, right? Actually, I was thinking 150. The delivery and consultation service. You know, the listing said 120. Did it? Must have been a typo." Her smile didn't reach her eyes now. "But I suppose 120 is fine. Cash, though. I prefer cash. I only had $80 in cash. I can Venmo you the rest. Cash only, I'm afraid." "Do you have an ATM nearby?" I didn't want to leave her alone in my apartment. "There's one downstairs. I'll be right back." "I'll come with you," she said quickly. "Need to make sure the mirror's stable before I leave." We went downstairs together. The whole time she was asking questions. "What floor are you on? Do you have security in the building? Is there a doorman? What time do you usually get home from work?" I withdrew $40 from the ATM, trying to figure out how to get her out of my apartment. Her questions felt invasive. Her presence felt wrong. When we got back upstairs, I handed her the cash. 120. Thank you. For the mirror, of course. Now, one more thing. She walked back to my bedroom to the mirror. I need to check the backing. Sometimes the mounting hardware loosens during transport. She went behind the mirror, examining the back. I stood in the doorway, watching. She was doing something back there. I couldn't see what, but I heard clicking sounds, like she was adjusting something. All set, she said, emerging. You're going to love this mirror. It really does make a room come alive. I've had it for years, sad to see it go, but it deserves someone who'll appreciate it. You've had it for years? I thought you were selling estate items. Estate items? Your other listings. You're selling a lot of furniture. Her expression flickered. Oh yes. Downsizing. Getting rid of things. You know how it is. She left. Finally, I locked the door behind her, relieved to have my space back. The mirror looked beautiful in my bedroom, but the whole interaction had left me feeling unsettled. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The way Victoria had asked about my schedule, my living situation, whether I had roommates, the way she'd insisted on coming inside, examining every room, the way she'd spent time behind the mirror, making those clicking sounds. Around midnight, I got up and went to my bedroom, turned on the lights, walked to the mirror, looked behind it. There was a small hole drilled through the back of the mirror frame, about the size of a dime, and when I leaned close, I could see through it, straight through to the front, through the mirror itself, into my bedroom. It was a two-way mirror. From the front, it looked like a normal mirror, but from behind, you could see through it. And mounted behind that hole was a small camera. Battery-powered, motion-activated, recording to a micro SD card. Victoria had installed a camera in the mirror. A camera pointed at my bedroom. At my bed, I called 911. Police arrived within 10 minutes. I showed them the camera, explained everything. They took the mirror as evidence, took my statement, said they'd investigate. They searched Victoria Ashford's social media profile. It had been deactivated. They called the phone number she'd messaged me from disconnected. They went to the address listed on her driver's license. Didn't match any property in the city. Victoria Ashford didn't exist. Or if she did, that wasn't her real name. The detective assigned to my case was a woman in her 40s named Patterson. She'd seen this before. This is a newer scam. Sellers offer beautiful furniture at incredible prices, insist on personal delivery, install hidden cameras during the setup. Then they monitor the footage. Sometimes for voyeurism. Sometimes to learn your schedule, your habits, your security system, your valuables. And then what? Sometimes they come back. Break in when they know you're not home. Steal things. Sometimes worse. She showed me photos from other cases. Mirrors, lamps, picture frames, coat racks, all with hidden cameras. All sold by different sellers with different names. But the same pattern. Personal delivery, insistence on proper placement, time spent alone with the item. The camera in your mirror was recording, Detective Patterson said. We checked the SD card. 2 days of footage. You getting dressed, sleeping, moving around your bedroom, and something else. The camera has Wi-Fi capability. Whoever planted it could view the footage remotely, in real time. I felt sick. Someone was watching me. Live. Yes. And based on the activity logs, they checked the feed multiple times per day. Morning, afternoon, evening, middle of the night. How did they get Wi-Fi access? The camera would need my network password. Patterson pulled out an evidence bag. Inside was a small device I didn't recognize. We found this plugged into an outlet in your kitchen, hidden behind your refrigerator. It's a Wi-Fi extender, but modified. It creates a secondary network that piggybacks on your main network without authorization. The camera connected to it. Victoria hadn't just installed a camera. She'd installed an entire surveillance system in the 10 minutes she'd been in my apartment. While I'd been distracted with the mirror placement, she'd plugged in the Wi-Fi device. While I'd gone downstairs to get cash, she'd had time to look around, memorize my layout, test my locks. "Do you have security cameras in the building?" Patterson asked. "In the lobby, yes." They pulled the footage. It showed Victoria arriving, carrying the mirror. But after she left my apartment, the footage showed her sitting in her car in the parking garage for 30 minutes, just sitting there, watching her phone, watching the camera feed from my bedroom, making sure the setup worked, making sure she could see me. The investigation revealed that Victoria, whoever she really was, had sold at least 9 other antique mirrors in the Chicago area over the past 4 months. All beautiful pieces at suspiciously low prices, all personally delivered, all with hidden cameras. 3 of the buyers had been burglarized within weeks of buying the mirrors. The burglars knew exactly when the residents weren't home, exactly where valuables were kept, exactly how to disable security systems. One buyer, a woman living alone in Lincoln Park, had reported a stalking incident. Someone had sent her photos of herself inside her apartment, taken from angles that matched the camera placement in her mirror. The police never found Victoria, never identified her, never arrested her. She'd used fake names, fake addresses, fake payment information. The cameras she'd planted were generic, bought with cash, untraceable. The car she drove was a rental, paid for with a stolen credit card. She'd disappeared completely, but her cameras remained. 9 homes in Chicago, all still containing hidden cameras in antique mirrors. Police found and removed most of them, but 2 buyers had moved without telling police, taking the mirrors with them. Those cameras are still out there, still watching, still recording. And Victoria, or whoever she is probably still selling mirrors. In a different city now, under a different name, still offering incredible deals on beautiful pieces, still insisting on personal delivery, still installing cameras in people's bedrooms. I moved out of that apartment a week later. Couldn't stay there knowing someone had watched me sleep, watched me dress, watched me live my life in what I thought was privacy. Even though the camera was gone, even though the mirror was in police evidence, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I'm in a new place now. 3rd floor, security building, doorman who checks IDs. I don't buy anything secondhand anymore. No furniture, no decorations, nothing that someone else could have modified or tampered with. And I check my mirrors. Every single one. I shine lights behind them. Test them with my fingernail if your reflection touches your fingernail with no gap. It's a regular mirror. If there's a gap, it could be 2-way. I look for holes in frames, unusual mounting hardware, anything that doesn't belong. Rain softens, cautious, permanent vigilance, because I learned something Victoria knew. People invite danger into their homes all the time. They buy it on Facebook Marketplace. They welcome it through the door. They pay for it. They put it in their bedrooms and never realize they're being watched. Last week, I saw a new listing on Facebook Marketplace. Antique standing mirror, beautiful Baroque frame, $120. Must see to appreciate. Different seller name, different profile. But the mirror in the photos looked familiar. Same style, same carved details. Maybe even the same mirror from one of the other 9 victims. I reported the listing immediately. It was taken down within hours, but this morning, it was back up. Different seller again. Same mirror, same price. She's still out there, still selling, still installing cameras. And somewhere in Chicago or maybe another city now, someone is about to find the perfect mirror at an incredible price. Someone's going to welcome Victoria into their home. Someone's going to let her examine their space, ask about their schedule, spend time alone with the mirror while they run downstairs for cash. And someone's going to live for days or weeks or months without knowing they're being watched. Until they find the camera. Or until Victoria decides to do more than just watch. I still think about that mirror sometimes. How beautiful it was. how perfect it looked in my bedroom, how I admired myself in it without knowing someone else was admiring me too. And I think about the 2 days of footage Victoria collected. Me sleeping, unaware. Me changing clothes, unaware. Me living my life, completely unaware that I was being studied, cataloged, watched like an exhibit in someone's private museum. I hope she was just a voyeur. I hope she just liked watching, collecting footage, feeling powerful by violating privacy. Because the alternative that she was studying me for something else, something worse, that's what keeps me awake at night. That's what makes me check my locks 3 times before bed. That's what makes me examine every mirror, every picture frame, every piece of furniture in my apartment for cameras, for holes, for evidence that someone's still watching. The detective called me last week. Said they'd found something interesting on the SD card from my camera. In the footage from the second day, there's a moment where I'm sleeping, and the camera angle shifts slightly, like someone adjusted it remotely, like Victoria was watching the live feed and wanted a better view, and in that adjustment, the camera briefly points toward my bedroom door. You can see a shadow in the hallway, a person-shaped shadow, standing there, watching. We don't know who that is, Detective Patterson said. We don't know if it's Victoria or someone she sent, but someone was in your apartment that night, while you were sleeping. While the camera recorded, they checked my building's security footage. No one entered or left my apartment during that time period. But my bedroom window, the one that faces the fire escape, was found slightly ajar during the investigation. I always keep it locked, but that night, someone had opened it. Someone had climbed up the fire escape, opened my window, stood in my doorway watching me sleep, then left the same way, all while Victoria watched on camera. Maybe directing them, maybe just enjoying the show. I don't sleep in bedrooms with windows anymore. I don't buy anything from strangers. I don't trust beautiful deals or friendly sellers or anyone who insists on personal delivery, because somewhere out there, Victoria is still selling mirrors, and somewhere in those mirrors, people are sleeping, unaware that they're being watched, unaware that someone might be climbing their fire escape, unaware that a simple transaction for a beautiful antique has given a stranger complete access to their private life. The mirror I bought for $120 cost me everything. My sense of security, my privacy, my ability to ever feel completely alone and safe in my own home. And I was one of the lucky ones. I found the camera in time, but I still wonder, what if I hadn't? What if I'd never looked behind the mirror? How long would Victoria have watched? And what would she have done when watching wasn't enough anymore? I hope these stories gave you the chills. 15 true accounts from people who thought they were just buying or selling something online, and instead found themselves in situations they never could have imagined. The scary thing is, these stories are more common than you think. Every day, thousands of people arrange meetups with strangers, give out their addresses, welcome people into their homes, all for the sake of a good deal. Most transactions go fine. Most people are honest. Most sellers just want to sell. And most buyers just want to buy. But not all of them. So here's my advice. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. If a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. If someone asks too many questions or wants too much information or insists on doing things a certain way, walk away. A few $100s isn't worth your safety. A perfect piece of furniture isn't worth someone knowing where you live. No transaction is worth the risk of becoming someone's next story. Stay safe out there. Meet in public places. Bring a friend. Tell people where you're going. Check your mirrors. Lock your windows. Trust your gut. And always, always remember, the person on the other end of that marketplace listing is a stranger. You don't know their intentions. You don't know their history. You don't know what they're really buying or selling. Sometimes, it's not about the item at all. Sometimes, it's about access. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.